Just a Rinnegan? That's not enough. I want the Tenseigan too. Welcome back, brave explorers of impossible worlds. We are excited to have you here to continue this odyssey together. Before we continue, everything you'll hear is pure fiction, so please don't try to replicate combat techniques at home. This wonderful story in all its rights belong to its brilliant original author. We are only the messengers of entertainment. Want another dose of adventure? Subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a single chapter, and if you can't wait, our Patreon has exclusive surprises you'll love. Chapter 376. Yuanjie touched the back of his head and said embarrassedly, "Today, I went to the mountain to cut wood and made a bed by myself, so that the two of us don't have to sleep on the sofa alone." A flash of lust flashed in Liv's eyes, and she lowered her head and said, "Okay, what's wrong?" "It's okay." Liv looked up and smiled happily. She brought in the big quilt that was placed outside the door, and it seemed a little difficult for her to hold such a big thing. Yuanjie quickly stepped forward to take it, and he said with a smile, "You still think thoughtfully." When Liv returned to the kitchen, washing her hands and preparing to cook, she lifted the lid of the pot and found that there were a few meat dishes lying inside that she couldn't see, but seemed to be able to eat. I don't have talent in cooking. I usually make some tomato scrambled eggs alone to cope with it. Don't mind, huh?" No, I like to eat." Liv took a bite of meat and smiled with a mouthful of oil. Although the food did not have any taste, she ate it happily because it was made by Brother G. At night, the two beds are closed together and two people look at each other in the dark. "Go to sleep. Good night." "Well, good night, Brother G." Liv's heart was full of sweetness, and she didn't expect to be able to share a room with Brother J one day. She was so happy. Soon, she couldn't sleep, not because of excitement, but because Yuanjie's snoring was too loud. Her eyes widened, and she said to herself blankly, "Does the SSS-level physique also snore? Perhaps, this is the real Brother G, who has let down all his guards. It turns out that he already treats me as his own." Liv laughed as she thought about it, and in her ears, the snoring became pleasant. A few days later, she went to the pharmacy, while Yuanjie stayed at home. From time to time, he went hunting in the mountains to add a game to this small family. And Liv is not worried about him at all, because in her impression, Brother J has always been a big hero who stands tall. It was only this day that she returned to the entrance of the village, and Mrs. Wang next door ran over to her with a worried look and said, "Xiaofu, your family is a father-in-law. He was bitten by a spirit beast." "What?" Liv quickly ran home and saw Yuanjie lying on the bed, his legs still with pus and blood. "Brother G, are you alright?" Yuanjie reproached himself and forced a smile at her. He originally thought that he could beat the wolf, but he didn't expect the other party to be so fierce. Mrs. Wang entered the house and said, "Fortunately, the old ghost of my family passed by Jade Mountain and found that your father-in-law was fighting with a firewolf beast, so he rescued him." Liv had tears in her eyes. She gave the beast meat she bought today to Lady Wang, but the other party refused. "Hey, what a big deal. Let your family be careful in the future. There are some places we ordinary people can't go in." Thank you, Lady Wang." Liv kept bowing, and after sending the other party out the door, she found a few herbs and carefully applied them to Yuanjie's wounds. She finally determined that Brother G not only lost his memory, but also lost his cultivation, and he was now an ordinary person like herself. She was not happy about it, but more distressed. A strong man standing on the top of the world. Suddenly one day, the realm slipped and turned into an ant. She raised her head to look at him. Just in time to meet his gaze, and she hurriedly lowered her head. Fortunately, he doesn't remember anything. As dusk approached, Liv bandaged his wounded leg and helped him to sit at the dining table. "Brother G, you wait a minute, I'll cook." Yuanjie had a good impression of this hard-working and kind girl. During the meal, he asked coldly, Are we husband and wife, huh?" Liv raised her head blankly, and quickly blushed. "It should be, isn't it? Then why?" "Mrs. Wang said that we are husband and wife." Maybe she saw us living together, so she misunderstood," Liv hurriedly explained. Unexpectedly, Yuanjie continued to ask her without mercy, "If it's not a husband and wife, how can we live together? Doesn't it mean that women in ancient feudal society cherish their reputations?" Liv was silent. She really wanted to say that we were husband and wife, but she couldn't say this. She didn't want to take advantage of people's danger. When Brother J recovers his memory one day, he will be angry if he finds out that he has deceived him. Eat. She took a piece of meat and put it in Yuanjie's bowl. Yuanjie was very puzzled by her answer. Recently, every time he went out and met people in the village, others called him Li Tiansha. Why didn't she admit it? He suddenly thought of some kind of plot of the rebirth of a scumbag. Time passed quickly, and a year passed. During the day, Yuanjie went to the pharmacy with Liv, and in the evening, he went home together. The sun rises, the sun comes in. Yuanjie has long let go of the so-called dream of developing his ambitions, and he feels that his farming life is quite good now. Originally, he was this kind of character, not contending or rushing, and he was at ease with encounters. Xiaofu, go home. In Yuanjie's mouth, the title has changed. Liv packed her things and walked silently alongside him. This year, too fast, made her feel unreal. One day, I will live like a husband and wife with him. As he went out, a carriage sped by, and he saw that he was about to hit Liv, who was distracted. Be careful, Yuanjie pulled her into his arms, and at the same time, he angrily scolded the people in the carriage. This is the carriage of the Marshal's mansion, from which a mighty man walked down. Is this Marshal Li? It should be. When Emperor Yuan said goodbye, he cried the most sadly. Indeed, Emperor Yuan has always used him regardless of previous suspicions, and this great kindness is unforgettable. After Marshal Li got out of the car, when he saw Yuanjie, he was dumbfounded. Emperor Yuan. Yuanjie was dazed. He looked behind him and pointed to himself uncertainly. Are you calling me? Then, Marshal Li frowned. It should not be the Yuan Emperor, just look alike. Because he didn't feel the slightest cultivation breath from the other party's body, he was like a mortal. I'm sorry, maybe I recognized the wrong person. Marshal Li smiled self-deprecatingly. Back then, he personally helped Emperor Yuan's body into the coffin. How could he still be alive? But yard by yard, he took out a money bag and said with an apologetic face, I'm sorry, I bumped into your wife. He looked at Liv and recognized at a glance that it was the woman that Emperor Yuan had specially ordered him to take care of. This scene is like the reincarnation of 10 years ago. It's just that everything is different. It's okay, pay attention next time. Yuanjie did not calculate with the other party, mainly because he saw that the people were dignitaries, and he was just a commoner. As the saying goes, the people do not fight with officials, but fortunately Liv is not hurt. When Liv saw Marshal Li, she was very apprehensive, and she was worried that the other party would recognize Brother Ji and snatch him away from her. She was used to the days when Brother Ji was by her side, even though she knew that one day it would be shattered, but she thought that it was a day to live. Fortunately, Marshal Li did not do this. Because, at that time, the infinite moon reading, the scene they saw in their eyes was too realistic. Emperor Yuan has passed away and is no longer in the world, and no one will question this fact. Chapter 377. The appearance of Marshal Li, for Yuanjie and Liv, is just a small episode in life. After they returned home, as always, Yuanjie washed and cut vegetables, and Liv stir-fried. This division of labor has become a tacit understanding of the lives of two people, like a loving little couple. It's plain, but it's fun. Xiaofu, give. Liv took it, and she noticed at a glance that forget-me-not was on top of the basket. This is Yuanjie's little interest all along. Liv gently picked up the forget-me-not. She sniffed. There was no floral fragrance, but she smelled happiness. After the two had eaten, they took advantage of the fact that it was not yet dark and went to the deep mountains to collect medicine. Now is the season of birds and flowers. Everything is revived. Everything is so beautiful. Brother Ji, can you eat this? It's a lot of... Yuanjie smiled and said, of course, this is called pineapple in our hometown. He didn't expect to see this fruit here, and naturally wanted to take it back and taste it. Liv's left leg was already healed, and it should have been the recovery potion that day was sprinkled on the injured area and had an effect. You close your eyes first, Yuanjie suddenly said to her mysteriously. Liv's nervous palm sweated, and he didn't know if he was going to surprise himself. Okay, when she opened her eyes, she only saw Yuanjie holding a bouquet of fiery red flowers in his hand, but she quickly noticed that he was injured. His hand was bloodied by the spikes on the flower branches. Does it look good? Well, it looks good. This is a rose, for you. Yuanjie carefully wrapped the bouquet of flowers. He didn't want her hand to be hurt like himself. Liv took it carefully, and she took his hand with distress, and said with a reproachful face, you are injured. It's okay. Little injury. Yuanjie smiled indifferently. Let's go home. This time, Yuanjie took her hand very naturally, and under the afterglow of the setting sun, The shadows of the two people stretched for a long, long time. At this moment, a poisonous snake emerged from the flowers. Yuanjie's eyes were quick, and he pushed Liv away, but he was bitten by a poisonous snake. Brother G, Liv was so frightened that her face turned white. She picked up the wood knife in a panic. She had been afraid of long animals since she was a child, and she didn't know where the courage burst out, and cut the poisonous snake into several sections one by one. After solving the viper, Liv's red lips trembled so badly that her mind was instantly blank, not knowing what to do. Yuanjie sweated coldly. He ripped off his clothes and tied them above the wound on the calf of his right leg. With his hand, he squeezed the wound hard, trying to let the venom flow. Without thinking, Liv took a bite. "You're crazy," Yuanjie pushed her away and shouted loudly, "You don't want to die? In case you have a wound in your mouth, you will die." "Nope. I don't care. I don't want to live when you're dead," Liv cried. She rushed up again, but was stopped by Yuanjie again. "Brother G, I can't watch you die in front of me. I don't want you to die. If I want to die, I will die first." Yuanjie smiled angrily. "Look at what you say, crow mouth. Good deeds say what is not dead." Seeing Liv's desperate look, he was moved. He watched her suck out the poisonous blood one by one, and then spit it out. Gradually, his consciousness began to blur and he fainted. When he woke up again, he found him lying on the bed, presumably her thin body, which had taken great pains to carry him back. "Little Fu," he raised his hand weakly, and when Liv heard the call, she woke up immediately while lying on the side of the bed. "I'm thirsty." Liv got up in a hurry, and when he ran out of the living room, he accidentally tripped and fell, and Yuanjie heard a noise. She limped into the room, bowl of water in hand. "Hurt?" Yuanjie noticed the wound on her knee at a glance. Liv shook her head, and she lowered her head in shame. "Am I stupid? The last time I helped Brother G get medicine, she was also knocked down and lame, and this time, it was like this again. In the future, remember to take care of yourself." "I take care of Brother G first, and then I think about myself." Yuanjie chuckled and poked her forehead with his finger. "What a silly child," Liv smiled shyly. In order to cure Yuanjie's illness, the 1,000 gold spirit coin deposit earned in the previous year was gone, and the family was poor again, and this time it was really poor and almost impossible to open the pot. Fortunately, Brother J is fine. Liv didn't care. The money was gone. He could earn more, but Brother G was gone. Because the toxicity was too great, Yuanjie's left leg was completely unconscious, that is, he became a cripple. Liv thoughtfully made him a crutch so that he could stand up and walk. "I'm disabled, will you dislike me?" one day Yuanjie asked. It won't. Not only did Liv not dislike him, but even her care for him was even more meticulous. Sometimes, Yuanjie would be nameless and hate why he had become a cripple who couldn't do anything, and Liv just silently cleaned up what he broke. Due to sudden changes, it made this small family more difficult. Yuanjie could not accompany her to collect medicine, and in order to earn more money to help Brother G treat his illness, Liv even climbed to the edge of the cliff to collect medicine. Once, her foot was in the air and she almost fell. Even if life is so difficult, she still has not given up her vision for the future, because Brother G is with her now, and she must grasp it well. Later, Liv spent a lot of money to buy a wheelchair for Yuanjie, and she often pushed him to see the scenery. "This sunset is really beautiful." Liv pushed Yuanjie and stood in front of an old willow tree at the entrance of the village, and couldn't help but sigh. Indeed, unfortunately, the sunset is infinitely good, but it is only near dusk. Yuanjie looked at the beautiful scenery in the sky, and his mood became much better. "Brother G, what do you mean by this poem?" "There are many meanings, and what it means depends on you," Yuanjie sighed. He looked at the lights of 10,000 homes, the dim smoke, and suddenly felt a melancholy in his heart. Another 2 years have passed. Yuanjie's left foot still showed no signs of being intact, and he felt that he could no longer be so decadent. At night, the two of them were lying on two beds, and Yuanjie looked at Liv and said, "Xiaofu, I want to work hard and earn enough money to buy a big house in Sharingan." "Huh?" Liv was stunned. She didn't know why he made this decision. She feels that her current life is very good, although she does not have a lot of money, but she has no worries about food and clothing. "I want to give you a home. A home that is no longer subject to cold winds in winter. A home that no longer has mosquito bites in hot summer." This is something that Yuanjie has been thinking about for a long time, and after so many days of getting along, he feels that this woman Liv is quite good. Gentle, virtuous, wise, kind, Family-oriented, hard-working, understanding, always enthusiastic about life, meticulous care for him, and her dedication. Since he has come in life so poorly, he has long accepted this reality. Let's have a home of your own in this new world. At the same time, he also clearly felt that Liv's feelings for him were even warmer than his own. The reason why she has not shown her heart may be the reserved nature of women in this feudal society. Sometimes, love does not need to be vigorous, the so-called long-term love, everything is so natural. Thinking of this, Yuanjie took out a ring from his pocket that he had polished himself a few days ago. The style is ugly, even the surface is uneven and lacks luster. He gently grabbed her hand and slipped it into her middle finger. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 378. Liv was still immersed in Brother G's sentence just now, "I want to give you a home," and in a trance, she felt the other party holding her little hand. "This ring is very ordinary, even a little ugly, don't dislike it. When I have money, I will definitely build another one for you, put it on, and you'll be my man from now on." When Yuanjie said this, his expression was a little twisted, and it was the first time he said this to a woman. Brother J, Liv's tears fell. Seeing this, Yuanjie hurriedly hugged her and wiped her for her. Why are you still crying? I'm so happy," Liv cried with joy, and for a moment she didn't know what expression to make, or what to do, or what to say. At this moment, she really looked forward to it for a long time, and there was a feeling like a dream. The sweetness of the past and the bitterness of unrequited love instantly flooded my heart. She had never had the luxury of expecting him to look at herself more. It is even less likely to be delusional about staying with him. Is this a dream? It's not a dream, not a dream. What is it? It's reality. Yuanjie looked at the girl in his arms, his shoulders shrugged and sobbed, and his mood was very complicated. He silently vowed in his heart that he would be good to this girl for the rest of his life. The next day, Yuanjie got up early, and he sat on the dressing table to tidy up his instrument a little. Over the years, due to injuries, he became a disabled person with reduced mobility, and lost hope in life, resulting in his state of being very emaciated. Heavy dark circles, embarrassing scum, messy hairstyle. From today, he's going to start a new life. He looked back at Liv, who was still sleeping, and she slept in a lovely position, with her hands under the side of her face and hunched over like a small child. He pushed the wheel out of the yard, when Liv's eyes opened. After such a long time of getting along, she knows Brother G's character. He is a person who sees the direction and will never stop until he achieves his goal. Therefore, last night she did not persuade him, silently blessed him in her heart. Yuanjie shook the wheel with both hands and came all the way to Jianghu City, which belongs to Sharingan. He came to the tavern, took a deep breath, and shouted inside, "Is the treasurer there?" At this time, a bartender Xiaoer came out with a puzzled face, and he asked, "Is there something wrong with you? Excuse me, do you have any drinks?" "I'm sorry, our drinks here are all purchased from the Yu family, don't rush to refuse. Mine is a different fruit wine, cider. There is also a Yu family over there, the supply is stable, and the amount is large. Why should I buy it from you?" Yuanjie choked. People were indeed right. He was powerless to refute it. The fruit wine of the Yu family was learned by Yu Mengan from Yasuking, but he didn't expect that many years later. It made Yuanjie worry. The variety of fruit wine in the Yu family is much richer than mine. There are more than 100 different flavors, and the taste is very mellow, and the brewing materials used are also excellent. Yuanjie bought back 5 or 6 kinds of fruit wine from the tavern, and he couldn't help frowning. Why does he always feel that there should be a traverser in this world before this? Why is it still the world of drinking impurity wine, and such a thing as wine suddenly appears? Is this scientific? This is definitely not scientific. The taste of this wine is exactly the same as in the previous life. Even, because of the difference in raw materials, the taste is better. Fortunately, the degree is not high. There is a taste of alcohol, but not much, so, Yuanjie intends to cut into the market from elsewhere. He walked all the way through the bustling streets of Sharingan, and he had a feeling that he had come to the illusion of modernity. Why is the world so contradictory? He looked stupid. He passed a mansion and then turned back. Marshall's mansion, Yuanjie pondered. It seemed that he had met a person named Marshall Li before. "Excuse me, is your marshal here?" He politely stepped forward to inquire. The guard at the door glanced at him and did not mean to reply. "Okay, I'll wait here." Yuanjie controlled the wheelchair and moved it to the side of the door, without obstructing the passage. After waiting for the morning, the gate of the house opened. Out came a tall man about his age. Patriarch Li, go slowly. Before the man got into the carriage, he glanced at the corner of his eyes curiously, and he was suddenly shocked. Like, it really seems like He quickly got out of the car and ran to Yuanjie. He asked in a trembling voice, "Emperor Yuan?" Yuanjie smiled lightly. "I am not Yuan Huang, my name is Yuanjie." "Isn't Yuanjie the Yuan Emperor?" Li Weiming was stupid. Although he had seen Emperor Yuan's death with his own eyes, it was hard to believe that there was another person in this world who looked exactly like that person, and even had the same name. He now doubted that Emperor Yuan was not dead at all. But what happened to that corpse? There will always be no fake, right? Yuanjie looked at him suspiciously and asked in a low voice, "You know me? You don't know me anymore? I'm Li Weiming, the one who was manipulated by you to jump off the building in Jianghu No. 1 Middle School." Yuanjie shook his head. When he just crossed over, he was already 30 years old. Where would he have read a book? Even if he went to school, that person is not him, but the predecessor. Li Weiming did not continue to entangle. He asked, "What are you doing here?" "I want to find Marshal Li." "What's the matter with him?" "Sell alcohol." Li Weiming laughed. "Then you are looking for the wrong person. Marshal Li is a public official of the national government, and the Yuan Emperor has an order, and the public official is not allowed to engage in business." "Huh?" Yuanjie is stupid, but he doesn't know other dignitaries. "However, my Li family is a merchant family. You talk to me. Will you talk to me?" Yuanjie frowned suddenly. He didn't think that a rich and handsome man passing by would help him so kindly. "That's right." Li Weiming took out a heavy money bag from his pocket, which was filled with the gold spirit coins. "I don't know how much." Then he handed Yuanjie and brought a business card by the way. "This is the address of the Li family in Sharingan. Just now I paid the willingness money. After your wine is brewed, trouble come to the Li family to find me." After speaking, Li Weiming got into the car directly and left, leaving a confused Yuanjie. He opened the money bag and looked. "Good fellow, there are enough 10,000 gold spirit coins? That's a lot of money. You know, Xiaofu can only earn 1 or 2,000 gold spirit coins a year selling medicine. Or is it just a willingness payment?" Yuanjie was overjoyed. He put away the money bag, immediately pushed the wheel home, and told his wife the good news. On the carriage, the housekeeper of the Li family couldn't help it, and he asked, "Family master, why are you?" Li Weiming showed a look of memory. "That person looks very similar to him. To be honest, without his help, the Li family would not have become the third family. So, as the saying goes, I help a group of people with the same name and surname as him. It's good." Chapter 379. Yuanjie drove a wheelchair and ran all the way to Liv's pharmacy. "Brother Ji, Xiaofu, there's great news." Yuanjie's expression was very excited. "You drink first, and then speak slowly." Liv pushed him to the table and smiled and handed him a glass of water. "It's like this." Yuanjie told her everything he had seen along the way just now, as well as how he had met a kind person. Liv thought about it. It seems that the Sharingan Li family is not simple. It is the third family after the Yu family and the Huangfu family. In the past, the Wang family, because the national joint examination took the lead in cheating, the Yuan Emperor was angry and withdrew all the support, and since then it has been in a slump, and now it is not even a third-rate family. Then congratulations, Liv was genuinely happy for him. Yuanjie touched the back of his head humbly. A month later, Yuanjie held a wine jug in his hand and was pushed by Liv to Li Mansion. "Hello, I'm looking for your master." The guard at the door glanced at him, saw that he was holding the business card of the head of the family, and immediately went back to pray. Soon, Li Weiming came out of the mansion, and beside him, there was a beautiful woman. If Yuanjie still had a memory, he should be able to recognize that his wife was the crane tail of the elite class of the desolate ancient academy, just an S-class physique, relying on luck and amazing courage to join the lucky one, leaving Ruzu. I really didn't expect them to come together. The first time Ruzu saw Yuanjie, her beautiful eyes widened and she covered her mouth in disbelief. "Squad leader." Yuanjie tilted his head and looked at her suspiciously. Li Weiming leaned into his wife's ear and whispered, "He shouldn't be the Yuan Emperor, he just looks alike." "Don't gaff," Ruzu nodded, but because of the woman's strong sixth sense, She increasingly doubted whether the other party would really be that person. However, that person had long stood on the top of the world, the most powerful man in this world, and there was no one. How could he become a cripple? Moreover, people with high physique, the body is flawless, there will be no spots, the other party is not, and even there are acne on the face. She suppressed her doubts and brought Liv and Yuanjie in. Li Weiming enthusiastically introduced the Li family mansion for him, but Yuanjie was not deeply interested, and no matter how rich people were, it had nothing to do with him. He did not envy either, and his heart was very calm. He feels that his current life is quite good, although he is not rich, but very happy. Thinking of this, he raised his head and looked at Liv, who smiled gently at him. With a smile, the wrinkles on the face can no longer be covered. She, old. Yuanjie said straight to the point, Patriarch Li, this is the medicinal wine I brewed. Medicinal wine? Li Weiming frowned. He originally thought that the other party would sell fruit wine or rice wine, but he couldn't think of getting a new product. That's right, medicinal wine is made by me by soaking medicinal herbs with highly distilled liquor. Medicinal wine has the functions of health preservation, restoring aura, etc. The specific effect is uncertain, but the medicinal herbs can be adjusted according to the requirements. This concept is very magical. Li Weiming's eyes suddenly lit up. Today, the Yu family has occupied most of the wine market, and other families can only insert from other aspects if they want to get a piece of the pie. Yuanjie fruit wine is aimed at young people, and this medicinal wine can just win middle-aged and elderly users. Li Weiming took the cup and took a sip. Good wine, what a good wine. He could clearly feel a burst of warmth in his body, and the spiritual power in the meridians flowed faster. Yuanjie and Liv looked at each other and saw happiness in each other's eyes. I wonder how much money Patriarch Li is going to pay. A jar of 100 gold spirit coins. Li Weiming didn't talk much nonsense, and ran directly out of the high price. Yuanjie was so shocked that he stood up directly, but due to the paralysis of his left leg, he stumbled, but fortunately was supported by Liv. This price is far beyond their psychological budget. However, the Li family would cost 100 gold spirit coins to buy a jar of medicinal wine, so how much would he sell if he sold it? Who would spend such a high price to buy a can of medicinal wine? You don't have to worry about this, my Li family has its own way. Li Weiming took out a contract, waved a large pen, and the deal was concluded. Soon, half a year passed. Yuanjie's medicinal wine, under the promotion of the Li family, soon became popular in the market. He still underestimated the purchasing power of the people of the Sharingan dynasty. When the effect of prolonging life is spoken, many people buy it directly home without saying a word. It's better to believe it, don't care how effective it is. Moreover, Li Weiming was very shrewd. He named this medicinal wine Yuanjie medicinal wine, not Ligia medicinal wine. When ordinary people saw it, they thought it was a special supply from the royal family. Even the Yuan doppelganger, who is now succeeding to the throne, couldn't help but buy a few cans of Yuan family medicine wine and go back. Because the follow-up supply will increase, Yuanjie opened a winery with the investment of the Li family, hired many peasant women who were unemployed at home in the village, and Wang Danyang had already mixed into the position of the head of the production line, earning more money than her family's dead ghosts. Instead of opening the pharmacy, Liv went to the distillery to become a treasurer, in charge of the cashier. Yuanjie was accompanied by Li every day, pushing a wheelchair to the winery production line to patrol. The days of this small family are getting better day by day. Yuanjie soon made a lot of money and settled in Sharingan. The place is interesting, exactly where their cottage was located before. Yuanjie rebuilt a villa there, although it was not a huge mansion, but it was warm enough, and if two people lived there, there was still a lot of area left. Today is Qingming Day, and Liv pushes Yuanjie to the cemetery where his parents and grandmother are buried. Great changes have taken place here, and since Yuanjie became the emperor of the Sharingan dynasty, it has undergone some transformation. The Liv family was buried in this vicinity, benefited, and in a blink of an eye, it became a treasure land of feng shui. Grandma, you said that if I am with Brother Ji, I will suffer and will not be happy, but now I'm really happy. Life is going well. Saying that, Liv couldn't help but cry. Although Yuanjie couldn't understand what she said, he still patted the other party's back to comfort her. Grandma, thank you, Liv bowed deeply. Turned and pushed Yuanjie away. She pushed her wheelchair and led Jackie to his grave. Buried here are Yuanjie's parents, as well as him. Yuanjie felt very strange. He was alive and well. How could someone erect a grave for him? When he noticed the photo at his parents' tombstone, he was stunned. At this time, Yuanjie took the white rose up a mountain, and behind him was the Manchu dynasty Wenwu. He noticed Yuanjie at a glance, and he raised his hand. Stop, Shongshu made Shang Ming puzzled. Emperor Yuan, why did you stop? Let them catch up first. Manchu Wenwu's gaze looked at the tomb, and when he saw the familiar figure, his body suddenly trembled. Chapter 380. When life pushed Yuanjie down the mountain, he happened to meet them. Emperor Yuan, it really looks like a Manchu dynasty. Wenwu can't help but think crikey. Could it be that Emperor Yuan really didn't die? In their hearts, a hope could not be suppressed. The Yuanshan doppelganger shook his head. It's not him, he's dead, don't think about it. The doppelganger inherited the memory of the body. In fact, he has long known that this is his grandson Yuanjie. Only, he did not debunk it. Since some people choose to take the initiative to leave, let it be when he really leaves. The new home was restored by life based on his memory, according to the small villa where Yuanjie used to live. She's also a nostalgic person. On June 25th, the 13th year of the Sharingan calendar, the two held a wedding in their new home. They didn't invite anyone and they didn't tell anyone. Liv Mai looked at him, tender as water, and she asked, Yuanjie, are you willing to marry Liv as your wife? Are you willing that whether in good times or bad, rich or poor, health or sickness, joy or sorrow, you will love her unreservedly and be faithful to her forever? I do. When Yuanjie spoke, the two people are the MC, you ask me and answer. Liv, are you willing to marry Yuanjie as his wife, whether it is good times or bad, rich or poor, health or sickness, happiness or sorrow, you will love him unreservedly and be loyal to him forever? Liv's tear ducts collapsed instantly, and she cried out loudly while crying and laughing, I do. To be able to marry him, she waited for this day, for a long, long time. Before I knew it, 25 months, 6 months and 3 days had passed. Every day, she silently counted in her heart how many days she had known Brother G. Counting and counting, it was not until she was 38 years old that she finally became his wife. Yuanjie knelt down on one knee and put a diamond ring on her, which he specially customized. There are only two in this world. After putting it on, Liv hugged him. It turns out that girls who love to laugh also love to cry. In the evening, the two held hands and entered their wedding room. The festive big red dress looked at them with a smile. Brother G, I want to be your woman. Liv wrapped her arms around his neck, giving him all kinds of grace alone. Late at night, Yuanjie said with a shameful face, I'm sorry, I'm too nervous, a little fast. Liv smiled and hugged him and kissed him on the lips. It's okay, I'm satisfied, some happiness, no need to do more words. A year and a half later, Liv's belly gradually grew bigger, and she said with a worried face, Brother G, I am too old, I belong to an advanced maternal age, and I am worried that the child will not be born healthy. Yuanjie touched her head and said softly, you don't have to worry, also, my body is too thin, and I am afraid of children going up and down small, no matter how young you are, it's also a child. Yuanjie understood her various fears very well, and he had to give her the best conditions so that she would no longer suffer. On December 28th, 15th year of the Sharingan calendar, Liv was produced. Yuanjie invited the best doctor in Xianjing City to deliver the baby, but hearing the endless screams from upstairs, his heart still had no bottom. He had to work on the anxious lamp in the living room, looking upstairs from time to time. Doctor, she'll be fine, will she? The doctor shook his head. She is too old, and giving birth to a child at the age of 40 is a disaster for her. Yuanjie sat on the ground in fright. He didn't actually want to give birth. It was Liv she strongly demanded. She said that her wish is to leave a bloodline for Brother G, and there will be no regrets in this life. At this time, the upstairs door opened again. Yuanjie quickly supported the wall and jumped up, and when he stepped over the threshold, he accidentally fell down. Brother J, Liv lay on the hospital bed, so tired that she couldn't open her eyes. Child. At this time, the doctor came over with a small baby. He picked up Yuanjie, and said with a smile, congratulations, it's a son. The corners of Liv's mouth forced a smile, and Yuanjie held the child and came to the bed. Xiaofu, have you thought of your name? Just called, Yuanmeng. Okay, listen to you. The youngest son, Yuanmeng, has been very intelligent since he was a child, and has no disabilities, but when he was 6 years old, Yuanjie took him to test his physique, and like his mother Liv, He was only F grade. Now that Reiki has been revived, the F rank is the same as ordinary people. Yuanjie took the child's hand, as well as Liv's hand, and walked home together. I don't know why, Yuanjie's left foot recovered on its own, and he became a normal person again. Only, there is a harsh truth that has to be faced. Dad, are you really my dad? Xiao Yuanming raised his head and asked crisply. Yuanjie leaned down, rubbed his son's head and said, "Why do you think I'm not your father?" Xiao Yuanming turned his head to look at Liv, and then looked at Yuanjie. Fairy tales. Because, my mother looks very old, she has gray hair, and my father is as young as Xia Ming's brother who just went to college. Yuanjie was stunned, and Liv's footsteps also stopped. The two fell silent. Yuanjie couldn't figure out for a long time why he grew younger and younger. His body became more and more perfect, his lame legs were better, and there were no spots and acne on his body. And his wife Liv, her face is uncontrollably wrinkled day by day. He didn't know, but Liv knew the real reason. Because he is an SSS-level physique and his cultivation is profound, his lifespan is almost immortal for ordinary people. But she, just an F-grade physique, has never practiced. If nothing else, she may only have half 100 time left to accompany him. Late at night, Liv secretly turned her back and wiped her tears. Perhaps, from the moment she fought hard, she had already guessed that this was the ending. This is her fated end. This is the sadness of Cinderella falling in love with Prince Charming. But, did she regret it? No. She doesn't regret it at all. If there's still a chance to be reborn, she will definitely be his wife without hesitation. Even if she can't look good, she has no regrets. Even if it's just a minute, she's willing. Even if tomorrow is the end, she will always stand behind him. It's just that she is very heartbroken. After she leaves, what should Brother Jay do? He has become a person again, and when the time comes, he will not be by his side. What if he does not eat enough and sleep well? Yuanjie hugged her from behind, and his arms were still so warm and reluctant. She couldn't help but think of the time when she first met. If you hadn't met him that year, you would have missed it for life. It's a pity, there aren't so many ifs, they're all gone. Now she has him and a lovely son. It's a little regret that his body is too old to give birth to an heir for him. She got up and hobbled to her son's room opposite. Menger, after your mother is gone, you have to be obedient and listen to your father. You know, perhaps, when his son is old, Brother G will still look like this teenager, right? Chapter 381. Time passed minute by minute, and in the blink of an eye, 20 years passed. Yuanjie bowed and carefully supported the white-haired Liv and came to the courtyard to bask in the sun. Brother Jay, her voice was no longer as gentle and crisp as it used to be. What's wrong? Yuanjie held her hand tightly and looked at him with concern. I want to hear you talk about the past. Yuanjie smiled. He shook his head and said, I can't even remember. Liv's cloudy eyes looked at him fixedly, and he said, then you, listen to the story I tell. Good. Liv leaned over and walked to the flower trough in the yard. She gently picked a forget-me-not, and then returned to Yuanjie's side before she spoke. Once upon a time, there was a 13-year-old girl who once accidentally fell into the lake in order to pick the green grass that grew by the lake, and she thought she was going to die, but at this time, a boy appeared and rescued her. When she woke up, she found the boy's hand on her chest, and he blushed and explained that he was accidentally offended to save her. You know what? The girl's feelings at that time were very mixed. She was grateful that the other party saved her, but she also hated his behavior. It was because of this ambivalence that she began to pay attention to his every move. Later, by chance, I learned that he actually lived near his house and also learned the boy's name. The two began to travel together and spent a wonderful time that will last a lifetime, and even when I think about it now, it is still sweet in my heart. Unfortunately, at a young age, she didn't know that this was what she liked. She will always remember that the boy gave her a 5-petal purple flower called Forget-Me-Not. Liv picked up the forget-me-not in her hand and put it in the sun, and couldn't help but smile. Yuanjie thought to himself, maybe the other party was her first love, but he didn't care, because the person who accompanied her for the rest of her life was himself. Liv continued, the good times did not last long. The girl's grandmother began to prevent them from being together. She was locked in her home, and the two were not allowed to see each other all day. No matter how much she cried, Grandma was unmoved. She had to wash her face with tears every day, and her thoughts of him became more and more intense. In the year of awakening physique at the age of 18, the boy awakened a unique SSS-level physique, and the girl, She is just an ordinary F-class, 2 people. For the first time, there is a distance, and it is a chasm that can never be crossed. The girl's grandmother, after seeing the boy get ahead, began to encourage the two to return to the state of childhood sweethearts, but the boy seemed to have changed as a person, and in his eyes, there was no more girl. The girl was very sad. She could only silently observe his every move in the dark, because she knew they would never be together. The girl was still fantasizing in her heart. What if one day, there was a chance? Even if he forgets me, it doesn't prevent me from silently liking him behind my back. The boy was very good. He was admitted early by the 3 major colleges at that time, but the girl, because of insufficient talent, could not even pass the academy, so she had to leave school early and go home. The two, in the end, went their separate ways. Before the boy left, the girl embroidered a peace talisman and gave it to him. Maybe he never found it. In fact, inside the peace talisman, there is a 5-petaled purple flower hidden. The name of the flower is very good, called Forget-Me-Not. When she said this, Liv began to cough, and Yuanjie patted her on the back and persuaded her not to say anything. But Liv didn't listen to him, and she continued to talk. After the boy left, the girl didn't think about it all day. She really missed him, but she knew very well in her heart that she was not worthy of him. The boy is so good, how can he look at her ordinary? The women who can stay by his side are all outstanding high-profile women. However, there is an exception to the woman. She is also an F-class physique like the girl, and the boy likes her very much, and the girl thinks, why is it that she is also a low-grade physique, and the person who accompanies him is not me? Later, when the girl heard that the boy had become the king of a country, she was very happy and proud of him who is excellent, and at the same time, she was also sad. She felt that the gap between the two people was even more unattainable. One day, the boy came to the girl's house, and she happily cooked a large table of dishes for him, but unexpectedly, he only ate a few bites and left. The girl is very sad. This is her first time cooking for him. Why not eat and leave? Why? Could it be that the food was not to his taste? With tears in her eyes, the girl ate a table full of meals, which she made for him, and even if she vomited, she would finish it for him. From then on, the girl's dinner table always had a pair of rice bowls and chopsticks, and she firmly believed that the boy would return one day. That pair of chopsticks will wait until its owner returns. But the girl waited for 9 whole years, and she didn't wait for the boy. Disheartened, she moved out of the house and came to live in a small mountain village, far from the hustle and bustle. Her yard is full of 5-petaled purple flowers that the boy once gave her, which she found after searching through thousands of mountains and rivers, called Forget-Me-Not. When the girl came to the small mountain village, she thought she could forget the boy, but found that she couldn't do it at all. Some people, really in love, that is, cannot forget for a lifetime, like a knife carved in the heart of the scar, can never be eliminated. Yuanjie asked curiously at this time, the girl you said should be you, right? If you love him so much, why do you marry me? Liv smiled slightly, and she said unhurriedly, you listen to me first. As a result, one day, when the girl went to collect medicine, she found a boy injured and lying in the snow. She didn't understand why he was here, but she didn't think much about it. She spent all her strength and finally rescued him home. After Yuanjie heard this, where did he not know? The girl was her, the boy, it was actually himself? His eyes widened and he looked at his elderly wife in disbelief. The story that followed was our story. If someone asks the girl, does she regret marrying him? Even if one day, he is still in the prime of life, and she is gray-haired, Xiaofu, don't say anything. Yuanjie hugged her tightly. The girl will definitely say, the aging Liv did not cry. She smiled, laughed happily, her hoarse voice choked. Brother G, I don't regret it. I don't regret marrying you at all. If I had another chance, or many times and many chances, I would still choose to marry you. Being with you is a fantasy that I have struggled for the rest of my life, because, the time with you, really happy, really sweet, really happy, I am content. If I have the opportunity, I really don't want to leave you. I really want to be by your side forever, no matter what identity I am, as long as I can see you, I am satisfied. At this time, someone passed by outside the courtyard, a woman, and she looked strangely inside, an 18-year-old boy holding a dying old man. Old man, is your grandson married? I have a niece who is handsome. Yuanjie glared at the other party coldly, and shouted, get out, she is my wife. The woman turned white in fright, but she did not expect that this young man's hobbies were so strange. In this place, Lady Wang's generation has long since passed away. leaving only young people who occasionally return to their hometowns. A year later, Yuanjie and Liv's youngest son, Yuanmeng, he also married and had children. 3 years later, Yuanmeng's son was born and named Yuanmengsheng. Time flies, and another 30 years have passed, and his wife Liv's health is deteriorating day by day. Today, she has long lost her mobility, and she can only drink some thin rice soup every day. Her face was covered with wrinkles, and the years were like a knife, engraved with scars on her weak body. The long black hair that was thick when he was young now falls like the first snow of winter. She was sick in bed all day, and it was Yuanjie who was always by her side to take care of her. Just like she took care of him back then. Yuanjie is watching her old day by day, watching her vitality deteriorate day by day, watching her change from a cute girl with youth and vitality to finally a gray-haired old woman. Liv shrugged her head, her eyebrows lowered, her eyes tilted her head inattentively, her gasping was loud, as if she was snoring, and Yuanjie was helping her comb her hair. With all her strength, she raised her head to look at him and pointed to the blooming flowers outside the window, and her eyes were full of beautiful purple. "Brother G, help, I'll pick one forget-me-not, I like it." Yuanjie lowered his head and was silent. He turned and walked out of the room. Liv smiled at the corner of his mouth, and looked at his back. There was a strong reluctance in her cloudy eyes. "The sunset is infinitely good. It's just near dusk, Brother G, after I leave, you must take good care of yourself, forget me." Chapter 382. A breeze blew through, and the 5-petal purple flower in Yuanjie's hand suddenly fell off. He seemed to feel something and ran madly to the house. I saw an elderly woman. She hung her head, her eyes were closed, and the corners of her mouth were smiling. "Xiaofu," Yuanjie walked over with a lost soul. She, still gone, as she said, died before him. Yuanjie's nose soured, and his lips trembled uncontrollably. He gently put the forget-me-not he had just picked on her gray hair. "Forget me. Forget me not. Forget me. Suguju, how can I forget?" Yuanjie hugged her old body tightly, as weak as on her wedding night. It was as if the words she had said the most sounded in his ears. "Brother G, being able to marry you is the happiest thing in my life." 7 days later, Yuanjie attended Liv's funeral. He carried the coffin in front solemnly, while he and her son, Yuanmeng, followed all the way with their heads bowed under the help of their grandson. The youngest son Yuanmeng is also old. He is now almost half 100, and his hair has been dyed half white. And his father Yuanjie is still young, still the same 18-year-old look. Yuanjie stood quietly in front of Liv's tomb and was silent for a long time. Liv, who died at the age of 99, was a very long life among mortals. Maybe it's related to her positive and optimistic attitude. Or perhaps, she realized her dream of marrying Brother G and lived in her dream every day. "Father," Yuanjie turned his head to look at his son after hearing the call. "Perhaps, in a few years, it will be your turn to send me." Yuanmeng smiled blandly. Yuanjie was silent. It is said that it is a pain in life for a white-haired person to send a black-haired person, but he is a person who can never be gray-haired, but he has to watch the people around him grow old one by one. The pain of the black-haired person sending the white-haired person, with whom 30 years later, Liv and his child, Yuanmeng, he is also gone. This time, Yuanjie is still the coffin bearer. His face was calm, or maybe he was already numb. He didn't understand why God would do this to him, asking him to watch his relatives go before him one by one, but he didn't know when he would leave. "Grandpa, don't say it, I'll send you." Son Yuanmeng Sheng smiled, but he smiled reluctantly. Everyone envies the immortality of cultivators, but who can experience their human suffering? Grandpa, he first sent away his favorite grandmother, and then he personally sent his son. Yuanmeng Sheng knew that his grandfather's heart was very painful, but he had no way, or did not know how to comfort him. "Grandpa, I went down first. There are still some documents to be processed on the national side." Son Yuanmeng Sheng is very competitive. He likes to read since he was a child, and when he was 20 years old, he performed well in the national joint examination and was successfully admitted to the Ministry of Rights among the 6 departments in 3 provinces. After years of hard work, at the age of 40, he was successfully promoted to Shangshu of the Ministry of Rights. Maybe in the future, it may be possible to be able to be an official and prime minister. Yuanjie was indifferent to his grandson's departure, and he went to Liv's grave and burned some paper money for her. "Xiaofu, I don't know how much time I still have to wander. Will you be lonely alone over there? Ever miss me?" I really want to go down and accompany you." He knelt in front of the tomb and sprinkled paper money one by one into the brazier. A gust of wind blew, and paper ashes fluttered everywhere, flying into the distance with endless thoughts. It was late at night. Grandson Yuan Mengsheng returned again, and he saw that his grandfather was still here, and he called softly, "Grandpa, it's time to go home." Yuanjie Murin turned his head, but Yuan Mengsheng's eyes widened, the tiger's body shook, and his voice trembled. "Grandpa, your eyes, what's wrong with my eyes?" Yuanjie was confused. As a result, after the mirror handed over by his grandson, he was silent. It turns out that he is not a waist F-grade physique, but a top physique, so he will live younger and younger, and live. Why is she so stupid? Obviously he already knew the end, but he still pounced on him without hesitation, burning himself all over his body. Yuanjie remembered a mole in the palm of Li's right hand, and he remembered a song from his past life. "If there is a chance to meet again, Xiaofu, I want to sing this song to you. I'm afraid it's too late. I'm going to hold you until I feel your wrinkles." There are traces of time. A wave of memories suddenly flooded into his mind, and at the same time, the system prompt sounded, "Host, the 100-year period has arrived, and I am back. Host, aren't you happy that this system has returned?" Sometimes, Yuanjie once thought about 100 and followed Liv, but he couldn't die. He was silent before he spoke. "Why are you only coming back now? Why can't you come back earlier?" If it had been earlier, on the day Liv left, he would have been able to resurrect her innately. However, after so many years, her spirit body could not be found in this world for a long time. "Why, I can't find her." The host, "A normal immortal death. After death, the spirit body will gradually dissipate in heaven and earth after 7 days. This is also the reason why Yuanjie in the future only resurrected a small number of people when he performed the innate art of reincarnation. If all dead souls can be reincarnated, how many people have aged in the long years? Not to mention Sharingan, even a few Langsing can't fit it. So, is there a way I can revive her? Theoretically, it can't be done. Reincarnation can only resurrect the spirit body that still exists. Just like Miss Wang, she took the initiative to choose reincarnation. The spirit body no longer exists, and you can't resurrect her. Really, there's no way. Yuanjie covered his head and squatted down to cry. The system opened its mouth and stopped talking. "Actually, there is a way. It's hard. Yuan Mengsheng gently patted his grandfather's back. He didn't know how to comfort him. The golden light emitted by Grandpa's eyes was particularly eye-catching. Soon, Yuanjie stood up, his expression very calm. Let's go home." A golden giant reappeared in this piece of heaven and earth, wrapped Yuanjie and grandson Yuan Mengshen, and flew to the palace. "Grandpa, isn't our home in that direction? This is the royal palace. This is a real home." Fortunately, it was late at night, and no one noticed the abnormality in the sky of Sharingan, and when he was still some distance away from the palace, Yuanjie remembered something. He turned off Susanoo and wrapped his grandson in Kyudao Jade to fly. Bang! With a muffled sound, Yuanjie took Yuan Mengsheng to the door of the imperial study. The door of the imperial study opened, and a young man walked out. "Are you back? Remember, so are you ready?" Yuanjie looked back at this great river and mountain. He closed his eyes and exhaled deeply. "Grandpa, I'm ready." Chapter 383. Grandpa, Yuan Mengsheng was stunned. He heard his grandfather, actually called the current saint grandfather? What did that mean? Yuan Tian came over and hugged Yuanjie tightly. Then, he looked at his grandson next door. He couldn't help laughing. "Yuan Mengshen, this name is very good." Yuanjie's helpless straw hand. "This is the name given by my son Yuan Meng, and it has nothing to do with me." Ha. Good. Very good. This is the descendant of my Yuanshen. Yuanjie was speechless, thinking that when Yuan Qianai was just born, he still thought that the boy was called Yuanjie Sheng, and the girl called her Yuan Yu Sheng. Fortunately he stopped it in time. Yuan Mengsheng was in a dream. He looked at the two at a loss, and stammered and asked, "Second generation Yuan Emperor, you are?" Yuan Tian doppelganger said loudly, "I don't pretend anymore. I have a showdown. Your grandfather, Yuanjie, is the emperor who passed away through the ages, the first Yuan emperor." Yuanjie nodded and continued, "At that time, when I was about to die, I was rescued by your grandmother, and at the same time, because of my injuries, I temporarily lost my ability and completely became immortal. With the passage of time, my physique and cultivation are gradually recovering, So I will always stay at the age of 18 in your eyes. Actually, he didn't tell the truth. His memories and cultivation abilities were all taken away by the dog system. The physique was damaged by the heavenly tribulation divine light of General Lu, and it took 50 years to complete the repair. As for why the system took away all his memories from childhood in Langsing, Yuanjie did not know. But he is thankful for the system. If the memory is still there, he probably wouldn't really fall in love with Liv, would you? His childhood memories were fully recovered when he was in his big night, when he remembered a girl who ran behind him all day when he was 15 years old. Yuanjie didn't think so much, just kept treating the other party as a childhood playmate. Unexpectedly, that memory, for Liv, turned out to be an unforgettable beauty. Therefore, if he still remembered that he had not forgotten anything, then his heart had long been occupied by Yi Suking, Li Tiansha, and Yu Menghan, and he could not make a single place. In this way, Liv's crush will end in nothing, let alone become a family and have children. The story is over before it even begins. System, did you arrange this on purpose? Including the location of my injury, and why did my eyes evolve into golden pupils? Host, please don't think too much, everything is fate, and it has nothing to do with me, don't you think? She is very happy. Yuanjie was silent. He remembered the time he spent with Liv. She really laughed every day. It was laughing from the heart. Is there any way to get her back to me again? There is a way. You can find the answer when you go to the Hades Palace of the ancient god realm. However, you have to consider a very real question. Even if you resurrect her, she is still an ordinary person. Does she want her to go through all this pain again? Yuanjie looked at the river of stars in the night sky, and he sighed yes, even if she is resurrected. The innate art of reincarnation does not change a person's physique. What is the peak period before death? That's it. Let's talk about it later. From the Shenhui space, Yuanjie found the peace talisman that the 18-year-old Li gave him before he left Jianghu City and went to Jingcheng. Every stitch and thread is entangled with a girl's love sickness. He opened his eyes and saw that there was indeed a 5-petal purple flower hidden in the peace talisman. That is, forget me. But why didn't I find it before? Why? Huh? And something? Yuanjie flipped through it and found that in the peace talisman, there was a secret compartment with a piece of paper hidden inside. He pulled it out and opened it to see her 18-year-old immature handwriting on the paper. Hold the hand of the sun, and grow old with the sun. Next to it are 2 little people holding hands, each with their names written on the top of their heads. Yuanjie, Liv. Yuanjie silently refolded the letter, and then closed his eyes. Xiaofu, congratulations, you have fulfilled your dream. It's just a pity that although I hold your hand, I can't accompany you to grow old slowly. I was not born, and I am not old. Jun hates me for being late. I hate Jun for not knowing. Grandpa, I'll go back first. Yuan Mengsheng just chatted with Yuanshan for a long time. He has not slowed down. How could he become a prince overnight? His heart was very apprehensive. He was worried that he would not do well and break the fortune that his grandfather had fought so hard to beat. At the same time, he also regretted that his father left too early and did not see the day when he ascended the throne and became emperor. You want your father back, don't you? Yuanjie suddenly spoke. Yuan Mengsheng sighed helplessly. Think about it, why don't you want to? My father and mother grew up taking care of me and raising me to become a talent, but they never had a good day. The most regrettable thing in life is that the child wants to be nurtured and the relatives are gone. Unfortunately, people cannot be resurrected after death. Who said that they cannot be resurrected? Yuanjie's expression was very calm and asked him. His son Yuan Mengfang has only passed away for 3 days, and his soul has not completely dissipated in the world. He can be resurrected, but his beloved wife Liv. Yuan Mengsheng suddenly raised his head. He finally realized that his grandfather was the first Yuan emperor with great powers, and the entire Langsing dead people could be resurrected. Wouldn't it mean? Yuanjie's index finger and middle finger were together. His hands were clasped, and his golden eyes were shining. Reincarnation innate art. A young man dressed in linen opened his eyes in confusion, and he looked left and right. Father, he saw his father, who had always been 18 years old, but his father at the moment, his eyes were different from before. Menger, it's me, father. Yuan Mengsheng hugged Yuan Meng tightly from behind, crying with joy. Son, it was Grandpa who resurrected you with great powers. Yuan Meng's tears burst all of a sudden. He didn't expect that there would be such a day, and his relatives would meet again. At the same time, Yuanjie's daughter-in-law was also resurrected. Fortunately, The time of their deaths was not far away. The three knelt and kowtowed in front of Yuanjie to express their gratitude. Father, that mother Yuanming suddenly remembered his mother live, since he could be resurrected by his father Yuanjie. Wouldn't his mother also have the opportunity to return to the world? Yuanjie Gujing Bubo's expression changed slightly. If I had the ability to resurrect, I would have been resurrected long ago. Yuanshan came over and patted his grandson on the shoulder, reassuring him not to be too sad. As soon as he grabbed the void, a nebula appeared in his hand. This is, the future you, who stayed, said that when you return, it will be handed over to you. Yuanjie took it silently, and then put it into his body, fusing the two divine power spaces. Then, he said to Yuanmeng, you guys go back first, and 3 days later, Yuanmeng Sheng ascended the throne and became the third generation of Yuan Emperor. Sun Zi Yuanmeng Sheng's ability and character, Yuanjie has always looked at it, and he feels that handing over Jiangshan to Sun Zi is the best choice. As for his son Yuanmeng, his talent is not in politics, he prefers to tinker with some unrealistic gadgets, so he does not rely on his parents Yuanmeng, and he is poor all his life, but his wife does not give up. Yuanmeng has no opinion on his father Yuanjie's decision. He also feels that he is not suitable. It is better to be a casual and comfortable emperor. This time, there will be more money and time to study what he likes. The next day, the Yuanjie doppelganger officially announced at the imperial meeting that the throne would be inherited to the heirs left by the first Yuan emperor Yuanjie, and the people fabricated a lot of spurious family search process to increase authenticity. The Manchu dynasty Wenwu was stunned. How could they not have expected that Shangshu of the Ministry of Rites, who had been standing with them in the main hall for meetings, was actually the grandson of the first Yuan emperor? Chang Xinming and Lu Yuannian, two old men, walked over to look at Yuanmeng Sheng with tears in their eyes. In the past, they found that Yuanmeng Sheng and the first Yuan emperor looked very similar between their eyebrows, but they couldn't imagine that it was real. The public servants of this session are basically old ministers. Their reverence for Emperor Yuan even reached an extreme level that others could not understand. Therefore, their expressions as they looked at Yuanmeng Sheng became more and more gentle. Ministers, follow the will, assist the new emperor, and prosper me Sharingan. 2 days later, the 3 generations of Yuan Emperor Yuanmeng Sheng officially ascended the throne, and everyone celebrated together. The first thing Yuanmeng Sheng did after he ascended the throne was to erect statues of his grandfather all over the world, large and small cities, and asked everyone to go to worship early in the morning to commemorate the great achievements of the first Yuan emperor. Yuanjie would never have thought that Sun Tzu's practice would allow him to gain great benefits in the ancient god realm. The Yuanjie doppelganger and Yuanjie flew over the waters of the Middle Pacific Ocean together. Arrived, the two plunged headlong into the sea and came to ruined underwater ruins near Zhengai's original dragon palace. Fatally, you can peek into its glorious past. Yuanjie followed behind, opened the Shinra heavenly sign, and separated the seawater. They came to the square in the center of the Yuanjie ancestral land, and the Yuanjie doppelganger arranged the 56 ancestor statues placed in the square one by one in order. Suddenly, the ground shook, the sea boiled, and all the creatures on the sea fled in panic. A multicolored divine light descended from above the 9 heavens to the sea. At this moment, the entire Lanzing felt a change. Yuanmeng Sheng stood on the star-picking pavilion, standing with his hands in his hands, and the black and gold imperial robe on his body was windless. He stared at the divine light far away in the sky and muttered in his mouth, "Grandpa, don't worry. I will definitely live up to your expectations. The prosperous era of Sharingan will prosper for thousands of years." His gaze gradually deepened, and a faint purple light flickered in his left eye, and no one noticed it. Chapters on Live 29, 80, 215, 276, 298, 299, 372, 382. If you are unhappy for a while, you can go back and take a look, and by the way, you can comment on the card. Chapter 384. Ling. Detecting that the host is about to reach a new plane, the system has automatically upgraded to version 2.0. Insufficient strength of the host's current skill has been detected, and the attack power of each skill has been increased by 100-fold. Yuanjie was still in the divine light transmission, and suddenly heard the system prompt sound, and couldn't help but be stunned. And this operation, but think about it, you use Naruto's ninjutsu to fight against the ancient mythical gods, isn't that self-inflicted? Not to belittle, in fact, Combat effectiveness is not at all a level. If the system does not enhance the attack power of the skill, you put a Sky Barrier Shock Star on the opposite side, and maybe no one will be uncomfortable with a punching. This system upgrade has automatically evolved some skills into more powerful moves. Ratchet, the sprint will be completed by the Thunder Avatar for the host, and it is faster and more powerful. Amaterasu, no longer need to aim with sight, and the burning range is wider, from multi-stage damage to single-stage damage, and the total damage remains unchanged. Combustible grade enhancement. Moon reading, up to 100 people can be pulled into the Blood Moon space at the same time, and the other party's suffering is increased by 100 times. Kamui, the blurring invincibility time has been increased to 30 minutes, and the blurring speed is faster. The transfer is changed to instantaneous, regardless of the distance. Fixed point transmission. Butenjin, Ayanaki, Ayanami, the negative effect of skill release has been eliminated, and the number of times Butenjin can be used is currently stored 5 times. At Earth Life, the amplification effect has been changed to increase the attack power of all Fire Ninjutsu skills, and the increase effect is increased by 100-fold. Susanoo Susho Naruto, can be released against friendly forces. Shinra Tenseigan, no need to release. Additional 70% of immune physical attacks and 50% of magic attacks are passive. When you successfully bounce off an opponent's skill, you can double your power. Vientiane Sky Introduction, it can pull and gather all enemies in 100,000 li, which is more powerful and increases the strong control effect by 10 seconds. Earthburst Skyster, increases the negative effect. The sealed person will not be able to use the skill for a period of time. Sky Barrier Shock Star, increased power, changed from multi-stage damage to single-stage damage, can be blasting at a fixed point, no longer accidentally injuring allies. Flying Thunder God, no longer need the imprint transfer, and multiple simultaneous transfers can be performed, and the skill is changed to no CD and no consumption. Done. After summoning the Wooden Buddha, you can unleash a more powerful move, the 10,000 Buddhas Dynasty 8 Doors of Dunjia technique. 8 doors have been automatically learned, and the negative effects have been cut in half. Paint 6 puppets, get a free chance to respawn, retain the top physique, and evolve the original moves into more powerful skills. Wheel Tombside Hell, doppelgangers can be fused with a body, and each avatar increases the combat effectiveness of the body by 10 times. Other skills are being optimized. A series of improvements. Sounds frightened Brother G, and even he came to the upper realm and stood there stupidly. System. Why hasn't the divine skill chosen by the reincarnation eye treasure chest evolved? Host, those skills are already strong enough. Okay, Yuanjie sighed, but then thought that the skill he had the highest damage in the past was none other than Heaven Standing Forever, which was as high as 20% in the nether. Now I have increased my holdings 100 times, I blanch. Would that be 20 million%? What kind of horrible statistic is this? It can be said that destroying a galaxy with one finger is not a problem. I just don't know how much damage it will cause when it hits those old immortals in the ancient god realm. All of them are old monsters that have lived for hundreds of millions of years, and their blood is thick and high, and if the system does not enhance the attack power of the skill, they dare not think about it. Brother G, at this time, Li Tiansha called out, pulling Yuanjie back to reality. She slammed into him, but because she was too excited, she smashed Yuanjie 1,000 meters away. Everyone was speechless. Yu Menghen held her little daughter and looked at him with a smile, with endless tenderness in her eyes. Daddy, hug. Xiao Yuanqian rushed over, and Yuanjie took his daughter into his arms with his right hand. Daddy, dear, I haven't seen my father for a day. Why do you miss me so much? A day? Isn't it 2 days? Xiao Yuanqian tilted his head and wondered. 2 days, Yuanjie fell into deep thought. Didn't he say that 1 day in the sky is 100 years on Earth? He obviously spent 70 years with Liv in Langsing, lived another 30 years, and sent his son Yuanmeng away. What's going on here? He stood up and looked at the crowd. There were quite a few people who came to greet him, but most of them were meeting for the first time, and he nodded politely. By the way, what about Su Qing? Li Tiansha's expression instantly became a little lost. Sister Su Qing, she. Yuanjie's heart raised his throat, and he asked eagerly, what's wrong with her? As soon as she came up, there was a strong man who claimed to be the Hades Palace and wanted to forcibly take her away, but fortunately the ancestor made a timely move, and now she is negotiating conditions with the people of the Hades Palace in the room. Hades? When did Yi Su Qing have a contact with Hades Palace? At this time, a tall and handsome young man walked over gracefully, and he stretched out his hand with a friendly smile. "Welcome home. This is the ancestor of our Yuan family, Yuan Shen, whose real name is Yuan 11. Yuan Shen himself was on the side, holding his wife's hand to prompt, and beside him, there was a heroic woman. Yuanjie noticed that his eyes seemed to be no different from ordinary people. Yuan Shen saw through his thoughts, and in a moment, his pupils were divided into two, one large and one small, one black and one blue. Ancient heavy pupils? I blanch. Moreover, the aura emanating from his body was so powerful that people did not dare to look at it directly. Genshin patted him lightly on the shoulder and said, "You go over with your family first, and then come to the main shrine to find me." Good. After speaking, the figure of the Yuan god disappeared instantly, and Brother G's pupils shrank. Good guy, is this the legendary shrinkage into inches? One step across thousands of miles. Yuanjie took Li Tiansha and Xiao Yuanqianyu's hands and walked over, and he first gave Yumengan a big hug. Experiencing Liv's time made him deeply understand the truth that he must cherish the people in front of him. "Grandpa, Grandma, this is..." The handsome woman smiled slightly. "Presumably, you are the son of the fourth brother Yuanshen, called Yuanjie, right? My name is Yuan Jingsu." "Hello," and Yuanjie greeted him kindly. After a simple greeting, Yuanshen waved his hand and urged him to leave. "Okay, let's talk about our old later. You go to see your eldest wife first. She seems to be in some trouble over there." "Where is Su Qing?" "In your yard. Let Asa take you there." Li Tiansha walked over, gently held his hand, and said mysteriously, "Brother G, hold tight." "Huh?" In an instant, he returned to the courtyard that the Yuan family had configured for them, his mind still faint. "How do I feel? Shallow teleportation is faster than my flying thunder." If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 385. After Yi Suking heard the noise in the room, she immediately rushed out. Xiaoji, Yuanjie hugged her tightly, stroked her hair, and said with pity, "Slow down, don't hurt yourself and your children." "Poof, a person with a top physique, how could I make such a low-level mistake?" In the room, a black-robed woman walked out, and in broad daylight, she was actually covered with a hazy veil. Her black shiny hair fell naturally, her eyes were particularly agile, and she was dressed in a black linen coat. Even if the clothes were very loose, her beautiful curves could still be clearly seen. "You are the husband of the Princess of Hades." When the woman had not yet seen Yuanjie, she sneered at him, originally looking down on him. However, when she saw those golden eyes, she instantly changed her mind. The two are indeed very compatible, and the most important thing is his eyes, which seem to have been seen in ancient books. Is it the legendary reincarnation eye? In this way, there is indeed a certain relationship with the Hades palace. The Princess of Hades Yanmi incarnated to marry him, but it is not a self-surrendered status. Lord Yanmi is very powerful, and her choice naturally has her reason. "Who are you?" Yuanjie's impression of the woman is not very good, because he heard just now that the other party still wants to forcibly take away his wife. It's good that she didn't teach her a lesson. "I am Mengpo. You should have heard of me." "Mengpo? Isn't it the woman who feeds people and drinks soup on the Nei Bridge?" He originally thought that Mengpo was a bad old woman, but he didn't expect to be such a graceful young woman. However, Yuanjie did not change his attitude because the other party was beautiful. "Go in and say, you want to take Su Qing. What is the purpose?" He sat down and poured a cup of tea for Yi Suking and Li Tiansha without paying any attention to Mengpo. Mengpo didn't pay attention to it at all, and she said without smiling, "Because, your wife Yi Suking is the princess of my Hades mansion, one of the incarnations of Yanmi Beidao." "Princess? Yanmi? Incarnation? What do you mean?" Yuanjie couldn't accept such a complicated setting for a while. Yanmi is the sister of King Yanluo, the palace master of the Hades palace. Tens of millions of years ago, Yanmi practiced a book called One Thought of Floating Life, took the initiative to turn it into 100 doppelgangers, went to the red dust world to experience all kinds of human sufferings, tasted all the sweet and sour, and crossed the 9981 difficulties. And now, Yi Suking is the last remaining incarnation, and according to Lord Yanmi's previous orders, she should return to the Hades palace, fuse with the body, and comprehend the supreme avenue of life and death. Yuanjie frowned, and he asked, fusion? Will memory be lost? It is possible. Snap, Yuanjie smashed the table, startling the three women. Aren't you? She lost her memory, or her? Will she still be my wife? I'm the first not to say yes. Mengpo seemed to have guessed his fierce reaction from the beginning, and she said unhurriedly, don't worry, wait for me to finish slowly. In fact, as long as the integration is successful, the existing memories can basically be preserved. Yuanjie was not happy after listening to it, basically. Even if it was even a fraction of a centimeter, he would never allow Yisuking to take such a risk. Xiaoji, you listen to her first. Yisuking raised his head and tugged at the corners of his clothes. Seeing this, Yuanjie knew that the other party should have convinced Suking. When Lord Yanmi separated her incarnation, she had cut off all the cause and effect and all the memories before her death, and her body is now like a blank piece of paper. Once the fusion is successful, she will be Yisuking, not a simple Yanmi. Yuanjie immediately discovered the contradiction. So since it is no longer Yanmi, why does your Hades palace have to go back to Yisuking to fuse? Isn't your approach putting the cart before the horse from the previous purpose? Mengpo sighed and said with a face full of unwillingness, because now, the Hades palace is very weak, and it has even suffered from the invasion of Western Olympus, and it is almost impossible to hold on. So, we urgently need a new strong man now to stand up and turn the tide. Actually, the most important point is that we, the Hades palace, want to get the help of the Yuan family, and Yisuking, she is now married into the Yuan family, and she is already half of the Yuan family. Her mother's family is in trouble. Your Yuan family should not sit idly by, right? Yuanjie is strange. Is the Yuan family so strong? How it seems that one and two forces are pulling together. The last time I saw Zheng Yun's mother, Zheng Chen, the woman's attitude was also very clear. That is, she wanted to marry her daughter to him, and then indirectly get the support of the Yuan family. Seeing him frown, Mengpo guessed his doubts. She said softly, the Yuan family, known as the fourth force in the ancient god world, is the strongest family besides the Eastern Divine Court, Western Olympus, and Hades Palace. No matter which side the three major forces are, they will find ways to win over the Yuan family. The Eastern Divine Court and the Western Olympus are pulling together the Yuan family in order to strengthen their own strength and thus annex other forces, while our Hades Palace is different. We are just for self-preservation. You also teleported up from the Nether, and you must know how many unjust souls in the Nether have no jurisdiction and cannot enter reincarnation normally. Because our Hades Palace is now, there is simply no time to deal with these things. Wait a minute, Yuanjie instantly grasped the point. Are you saying that the souls that should have entered reincarnation in the Nether realm are now all accumulated in your Hades Palace? Yes, we are taking care of ourselves now. The 6 realms of reincarnation are unattended, and even I don't have time to distribute Mengpo soup. Yuanjie suddenly remembered Wen Qing and Lifu. In other words, although they entered reincarnation in the Nether, in fact, there was no real reincarnation success at all. Their spirit bodies should still be in the Palace of Hades. In this way, resurrecting them is not without opportunity. Xiaoji, what is your opinion? Yisuking looked at him blankly, not knowing why. She always couldn't suppress the urge to return to the Hades Palace, which was an innate instinct. Yuanjie finally asked, what do you think is the success rate of integration? Almost 100%. Don't say such ambiguous things. I want an affirmative answer. 100%. Is this what you have been an official for a long time, and you have to leave room for yourself when you speak? Mengpo also had a headache, in her opinion. Master Yanmi would not be able to bury a pit for herself by practicing the one-thought floating life exercise. When everything is settled, it is the day of merit and consummation. Moreover, in her opinion, Lord Yanmi's last incarnation would choose to marry Yuanjie, which meant that her other 99 incarnations must be closely related to the man in front of her. Lord Yanmi would never have married that person in this incarnation, and that incarnation married another person. Isn't this putting a hat on himself? That is to say, the two of them have 100 lifetimes of calamity, and the first 99 lives will not end well, until this life. If it is successfully passed, only then will the cultivation be fruitful. However, what made her feel strange was why in this life, the love calamity she was going to experience suddenly disappeared. Who the hell is it? Crossing the river of time to erase? Is it Lord Yanmi? Chapter 386. Yuanjie fell into deep thought. He was afraid that Yisuking would be like Li Tiansha again, and he would go for 9 years. The most important thing is that now that she is pregnant with Raka, and he is worried that something will happen to him. Will it have any effect on the child? Mengpo hesitated for a moment before he spoke. It's not good to say, the fusion of the avatar and the ontology, and I am not sure whose body is the main body in the end. If it is integrated into Yisuking's body, the baby in the womb may benefit a lot, gain extremely heaven-defying abilities. It may also be the body of Lord Yanmi, and the child will most likely directly become a dead baby. As soon as these words came out, Yisuking's small face turned white. She values her children more than her life, and she is not willing to risk anything that is unfavorable to them. Mengpo patted the back of her hand and said, deciding who is the main body depends on your struggle with Lord Yanmi. If you succeed, you and your children will gain a strong inheritance and become human beings in one fell swoop. Your child will be born on top of the world. Yisuking turned his head to look at Yuanjie, and the two looked at each other, and they were unsure. In fact, compared to the child, Yuanjie is more worried about Yisuking, and after the fusion, it will not be her. He was afraid that she would forget herself, forget each other's stories, and be strangers from then on. And Yisuking, more worried about the safety of the child, since Li Tiansha came back, showing extraordinary combat effectiveness, she suddenly had a sense of urgency. Yu Menghen is an ancient divine beast that can unlock the seal at any time and reach the peak combat power. And what about her Yisuking? Nothing. Now this time fusing with the main body, is her hope to quickly improve her combat power. She didn't want to stay with her lover and just make a vase, she didn't want to stand behind him and be protected by him. She also wants to fight side by side with Zyonji, and she doesn't want to hold him back. If she hadn't been pregnant, she might have said goodbye and secretly went to the Hades Palace for the fusion ceremony. But now that she and Yuanjie have the crystallization of love, and since then they have a deeper bond, she really doesn't want to take risks. Let's discuss this matter later, let us consider it, but, Mengpo said eagerly, now the situation in the Hades Palace is very bad, I'm afraid I won't be able to wait long. Yuanjie glanced at her lightly and said, don't worry, I'll go talk to the ancestor about this, okay? Mengpo sighed helplessly. Yuanjie stood up and pulled Yisuking out of the yard. He looked at her seriously. Suking, tell me what you really think. Actually, I want to go. Yisuking lowered her head and did not dare to look at him, because I am very eager to improve my strength now. I don't want to be a burden to you. Yuanjie took her into his arms and said softly, how can you be a burden to me? However, Sister Shallow and her combat power has reached the 50 levels of the Emperor Venerable Realm, and Sister Menghen has not yet unsealed the seal, but she is a divine beast that has lived for millions of years, and she doesn't know how much cultivation is contained in her body, and me? I don't have anything, and this time I have the best chance to fuse the body. Actually, I don't want to give up. Yisuking stroked her slightly bulging lower abdomen, looking struggling, it's just, I have a child, and I have to be responsible for him, then why don't you fight for our children? Hearing Yuanjie's words, Yisuking was stunned. Yes, she only thought of the bad, but subconsciously ignored that if it succeeds, it can bring extraordinary benefits to the child. Seeing Yisuking's intentions, in fact, Yuanjie's heart was very conflicted. It's just that he knows that once she has the slightest idea in her heart, she will attack herself and constantly convince herself. Whether she agrees or disagrees, in the end, she will still go. In her previous life, Yuanjie lived with Yisuking for 5 years, and she knew that her personality was like this, since she suddenly changed her temperament after her wedding in Xianan. Before this, Yuanjie had already seen her abnormality, so he didn't force her, everything only needed to be handed over to time. Because he knew that she would figure it out herself, but she was temporarily missing a step down. It just so happened that Xianan made a big fuss about the wedding and scolded Yisuking fiercely, which was a wave of divine assistance. Not only did Yisuking finally make up her mind to compromise, but there were steps for her to save her face by the way. Thinking of Xianan, it seemed that he hadn't seen her again for a long time. Do you really want me to go? I don't know, although I am very conflicted in my heart, but I hope you are well. Yuanjie held her hand tightly. However, before that, you must be fully prepared. I am worried that the other party has some conspiracy. Well, you are the backbone of the family, and I listen to you. Yisuking crouched on his chest, feeling his heartbeat with a smile. He had only been gone for 2 days, but she felt like she was living for years. Tonight, be sure to love him well. Yuanjie was taken by Li Tiansha to the main shrine in the middle of the Yuan family's territory. In the center of the hall, Genshin opened his eyes slightly. Coming? See, ancestors, sit down, you're welcome. Genshin's right hand flicked lightly, and a tea table appeared between the two. Yuanjie kneels on the ground and sits on his knees, with his hips on his ankles, his upper body straight, and his hands on his knees in a regular manner, which is the orthodox sitting posture in ancient sitting ceremonies. It seems that the Yuan family of the ancient god world has always retained this tradition, and as a modern person, Yuanjie is not used to sitting like this, just going to the countryside and following the customs. Yuanshan poured a cup of tea for him and said lightly, I already know about the death of your parents back then, and I am sorry, I didn't expect that the descendants of the Guardian family would have rebelled, and if I had known earlier, I should have restricted their development from the beginning. However, I have already controlled the 12 families who teleported up, and you can deal with it however you want. Yuanjie was shocked. He didn't expect that the ancestor would value this matter so much. Genshin seemed to see what he was thinking, and he took a sip of tea and said without hurry. Do you think that our Yuan family, a family known for its super pupil technique, most of the strong people in it have divine pupils? Isn't it? Yuanjie was stunned, how strong the pupil technique of the Yuan family was. It was blown into the sky, and he heard his grandfather bragging almost every day. Yuanshan smiled and shook his head. This is not the case. In the 5 million year history of the Yuan family, there have only been 100 divine pupils. After the changes of the years, there are only 35 divine pupils left in the ancient god realm, plus you. Therefore, every divine pupil inherits the purest bloodline of the Yuan family, which is a rare precious treasure. This matter involves Ocean and you. I will naturally prioritize your feelings. Ancestor, that group of thieves, has been all dealt with by my grandfather, and has received the punishment he deserves. As for their clansmen in the upper realm, let's not count it. This is the answer that Yuanjie came to after careful consideration. The fundamental reason was that his hatred for those families was not as great as that of Yuanshan. When it happened, he was still a small baby, and after so many years, he had long been put down. Ancestor, what did my grandfather say? Surprisingly, his choice is the same as yours. Yuanshan made quite a wave in his heart. Originally, he thought that the grandfather and grandson would not die, but they both chose to smile in revenge. However, even if Yuanshan and Yuanjie forgave their people, it did not mean that Yuanshan was willing to let them go. There was no room for sand in his eyes, not even for the descendants of that group. Grandpa and grandson said that there should be deeper consideration. Maybe it's because he didn't want to mess with right and wrong when he just arrived in the ancient god world, or maybe it was for the unity within the Yuan family, or maybe it was to give him a face to the Yuan god. But these are not issues that Genshin should consider. As the sole leader of the Yuan family in the ancient god realm, he was bound to give priority to taking care of the Yuan family. I banished them all to the border of the Yuan family and stationed them for 1,000,000 years. Genshin seemed to be saying something very small. Yuanjie was stunned. Yuanshan spoke again. As for the fact that you were attacked by the Emperor Venerable Realm from the ancient god realm in the Nether Realm, I have entrusted the 10 ancestors Yuanxing to deduce, and his divination results are. At the mention of this, Yuanjie's heart became angry. If it weren't for the sudden appearance of that person, which broke the original tranquility, seriously injured him, and almost died, how could he have lost his memory for 100 years? However, without this accident, he would not have had the opportunity to spend an unforgettable time with Liv. Does that person have a big background? The other party dared to ignore the heavenly rules, the nether cruelty, without a certain social background, absolutely did not dare to do this. It's really promising. Yuanshan suddenly put down the teacup, and the killing intent in his eyes could not be covered, because he is from the Heavenly Emperor Mansion. Heavenly Emperor Mansion? Yuanjie was shocked. When did he get involved with a Heavenly Emperor Mansion? It was Emperor Xiaodian who arranged him in the Nether Realm, and as for the reason, it does have a little to do with you. Some time ago, Emperor Xiaodian married the dragon girl Zhengian, and it was Zhengian who deliberately said that you were her lover in the Nether, thus causing the Emperor's killing intent. Actually, for a woman who dares to ride on the head of the Yuan family and Heavenly Emperor Mansion, do you really think that in the Eastern Divine Court, you can cover the sky with one hand? In fact, the Heavenly Emperor Mansion's voice in the Eastern Divine Court is not so great. In addition to the Heavenly Emperor Taihao who represents the divine race, there is also Nu Wanniang who represents the Terran race. and the Eastern Emperor Tei and the Demon Emperor Jun, who represent the demon race, forming a three-legged situation. In fact, the strength of the three major forces is equal, but the ancient god world only recognizes the god race as orthodox, and feels that the demon race is a group of things that cannot be on the table, which makes the Eastern Emperor Tei have different ideas. Eastern Emperor Tei was eager to prove the strength of the demon race by ascending the throne and reforge the past glory of the demon clan. The Heavenly Emperor Mansion dares to lay a death hand on the descendants of the Yuan family, and this figure will definitely not let them go. Yuanjie has a deep gaze, and the Yuan family has been hiding from the world for many years, which does not mean that they are timid and afraid of things. Ancestor, Yuanjie's heart was very moved. When he heard that the murderer was from the Heavenly Emperor Mansion, he subconsciously gave up the hope of revenge, but he didn't expect that the ancestor was so protective of the calf. Thank you, ancestors. You don't have to thank me. If you want to thank, just thank your 10 ancestors. Without his pair of Daobu divine pupils, we don't know who is behind it. Daobu divine pupils, his eyes are as bright as stars, he is good at deduction, and nothing can escape his eyes. Unexpectedly, just by looking at the face of Yuanjie, he can deduce and restore so many unknown causes and effects, which cannot be described as invincible. By the way, what are you going to do about your wife's affairs? I think that her development should not be restricted, since it is her fate or chance. Let her pass. It's just that I'm worried about what kind of caution there is on the side of the Hades Palace, so I dare to help the ancestors. Yuanjie smiled. Since you have married into my Yuan family, you are a member of the Yuan family, and the Yuan family will protect themselves. Don't worry, the Yuan family will arrange for someone to send troops to help the Hades Palace repel Western Olympus. At the same time, it will also arrange for strong people to be stationed in the Hades Palace. Once you find out what means they use behind their backs to deceive you or not keep their promises, and cannot let your lady integrate smoothly, then without the help of Western Olympus, the Yuan family will be able to occupy the Hades Palace immediately. With this reassuring agent from the ancestor, Yuanjie was relieved. By the way, don't move first, let me take a good look at your eyes. This is a test that every Yuanjie god pupil must go through, and as the leader of the Yuan family, Yuanjie must be familiar with the abilities of each family. He activated the ancient heavy pupil, which can see through the essence of all things, and what ability Yuanjie's pair of divine pupils has, he knows at a glance. Strange, these eyes of yours can still evolve? Moreover, both eyes have different abilities? The more Genshin looked at it, the more surprised he became. Generally speaking, the pupil technique of the divine pupil is basically focused on singleness, either with powerful attack power or with the ability to defy the sky. But like Yuanjie, every eye has many strange skills, which is really rare. The left eye reincarnation eye, evolved from the riding wheel eye. Sharingan has attack pupil techniques. Amaterasu, Kamui, Susanoo, has auxiliary pupil techniques. Kamui, plus Tsuchimi, and has illusion pupil techniques. Tsukiyomi, Bitenjin, Izanami, Izanaji. After evolving into the Eye of Reincarnation, he has the art of attacking pupils. Shinra Shinzheng, Vientian Heavenly Introduction, Earth Explosion Heavenly Star, Heavenly Hindrance Shock Star, Seeking Dao Jade, Wheel Tomb Side Hell, Reincarnation Eye Coercion, High Imperial Birth Sun God, Xiaoming Biguna, Heavenly Tsuna, Jian Ayu Thunder God, Reincarnation Eye Auxiliary Pupil Technique, Reincarnation Innate, Great Aizu, Tencho Force, Time and Space Channel. Huanquan Hirazaka, Sync Hizuru Instantaneous, Time Backtracking, Time Freezing, Daikoku 10, Yumajias, Tenno Hinit, Reincarnation Eye Passive Pupil Technique. God gives birth to the nest of the Sun God, increases his own cultivation when he is hit, and the probability of triggering is 100%. Sushin Naruto, which enhances Susanoo's attack and defense power. The Yuanjie people are a little numb. Why is this descendant different from other god pupils? He really had never seen it before. How could one eye have so many different abilities at the same time? Does he remember? Yuanjie shook his head, so he looked into Yuanjie's other eye. The right eye reincarnated eye, evolved from the white eye. White eye has attack skills. Bagua 2048 Palm, Bagua Empty Palm, Return to Heaven, White Eye Coercion. At the same time, it can observe from an ultra-long distance, and with the Eye of Reincarnation, it can launch attacks thousands of miles away. It has a variety of abilities such as being able to see the flow of the opponent's meridians, see through, and enhance physical attacks. The reincarnation eye can turn the pupil technique into 6 cloaks, enhancing one's own attack power and attack speed. Reincarnation eye special pupil technique, Subichira, Silver Wheel Rebirth Explosion, Golden Wheel Rebirth Explosion, Psychic Technique, Immortal Golem, Divine Power Deprivation. The more Genshin looks at it, the more confused he becomes. Are you special? It's not a common way to play your cards. Yuanjie's pair of reincarnation eyes completely refreshed Yuanshin's worldview. He never thought that so many anti-heavenly pupil techniques, just take out one, as long as it is used to the extreme, it can create a divine pupil, and now it is actually gathered in one person. Chapter 387. Yuanshin did not see through Yuanjie's true strength, such as non-pupil skills, multiple shadow avatar art, spiral pill, how fireball technique, mirror flower water moon, flying thunder god, bliss pure land, filthy earth rebirth, wood done, immortal art, 8 doors of Dunjia art, and so on. In fact, there are many skills that Yuanjie can no longer use. Fortunately, Genshin didn't see that he had a system. Your current cultivation is only in the flying immortal realm, and our Yuan family has a divine spring that can quickly improve your skills. I suggest that you arrange for your family to hurry up and enter it and promote to the realm that matches the ancient god realm as soon as possible. Thank you, ancestors. Unexpectedly, the Yuan family has such an intimate arrangement. Presumably, this is the reason why the Yuan family can quickly rise in the ancient god world, right? Yuanjie agreed without thinking. By the way, ancestor, I want to ask something, but it doesn't hurt to say. Yuanshin poured a cup of tea for him, and Yuanjie tapped the table with 2 fingers, and the etiquette was done very well. Yuanjie took a sip of tea, feeling that his divine sense was much more transparent, indicating that this tea was definitely not ordinary tea. Ancestor, I heard that our Yuan family has a secret technique that can change a person's physique. Hearing this, Yuanshin paused as he picked up the teacup, and he frowned. It has indeed been. This technique is called Li Tiansha. It's just that this secret technique is contrary to human ethics, and I have abolished it. Yuanjie was stunned. Is it against human ethics? Yuanshin glanced at him lightly, silently, not knowing what he was thinking. After a long time, he opened his mouth to explain. You must be very strange. Why is the secret technique of this pillar in the wall contrary to human ethics? Yuanjie nodded. This is the only way he knows now that he can change Liv's physique. Because this technique is very cruel and has no moral bottom line, the pillar in the wall is essentially a human experiment. First, through a secret method, the essence blood of a person who needs to change her constitution is injected into the belly of a woman to conceive. If it is a man who changes his physique, he needs to extract his life essence, and if it is a woman, it must be conceived in her body. In short, that new he/she is their child. The success rate of the experiment is very low. Basically, it takes 5 or 6 times to succeed, just like touching the prize. It is possible that you were born, or a mortal body. It is possible, the physique cannot reach the level you want. When a newborn is 3 years old, he can go to test his physique, whether it is an immortal body, SSR level, a god king body, SSS level, or a monarch body, SS level. It all depends on the destiny of heaven. If you're not happy with the outcome, you have to kill it in the cradle early, because that new you inherits all your thoughts and memories. After Yuanjie listened, others were stupid. They couldn't imagine that this secret technique was so cruel. He wanted his parents to destroy their relatives and kill their children with their own hands. Genshin shook his head. Actually, this is not the most cruel. The cruelest thing is that once a satisfactory physique is conceived, then the old one will have to die. One mountain does not allow 2 tigers. You can't kill it. Generally speaking, men and women who change their physiques will extract life essence fusion from their partners. Because there is simply no one willing to help you, who would want to see their own flesh and bones and be strangled by others because of poor physique? Then, there will be a very serious human problem. A newcomer with a good physique, at the level of human relations, must be your child. That is, once the old person dies, the other half who will be with you in the future will be the son or daughter of the other party, even if you have all the memories from before. Can you accept this result? When Yuanjie heard this, he immediately denied resurrecting Liv through this method. The new person has the same character and memory as the old person, and if he kills himself, he feels distressed, and if he does not kill, the consequences are endless. Liv would never agree to do this. Even if it was him, he could not accept being with his daughter. It seems that there is only another way to find it. Yuanjie sighed. He stood up and handed over his hand. Thank your ancestors for solving the confusion. and the younger generation leaves. Go slowly. Li Tiansha waited for him to come out at the door of the main temple, and after meeting, she gladly grabbed his arm and coquettishly said, "Come out, where do we go next? I want to walk around here." "Okay, I'll accompany you." Yuanjie and Li Tiansha visited the Yuan family in the Upper Realm for the first time. This place is very large. How big it is, and Brother Ji does not know. Since the Yuan family's territory was forbidden to fly, he could not spy on the whole area. However, with his white eyes that can detect tens of thousands of miles of ultra-long distance, he feels that he can't even see a tenth of it. Yuanjie had a rough judgment. It should be equal to the total area of 100 blue stars, right? And this is only a tip of the ancient god realm. Along the way, Yuanjie did not see other divine pupils. Presumably, as the ancestors said, there are really not many divine pupils left in the world now. That his status can naturally be mentioned in a very important position in the Yuan family. Therefore, Yuanshin will do his best to help him and send troops to the Hades Palace for Yisu King's town. If you have no talent, no strength, and no future, it is whimsical to want the family to share your worries. This is true in any world. Let's go back. In the evening, in order to celebrate Yuanjie's return home, Yuanshin's grandfather Yuangu specially returned from the separation family and held an unusually unique family banquet. In the Yuangu lineage, there have been 6 divine pupils, so he serves as an elder in the family and has a very high status. Yuanko, the creation god, can unconditionally learn the opponent's spells and evolve them, unleashing more powerful and perfect skills. In the Yuan family's scripture cabinet, more than half of the incomplete exercises were revised by him. It is also a replica, and his creation god pupil is not the same as Yuanshin's tricky demon pupil. The Yuanshin trick demon pupil is a 1-to-1 reduction, and the divine power is very sufficient, and it can release multiple skills at once, which is mixed with true and false, virtual and real skill ghosting. The Yuangu's creation god pupil can not only be reproduced, but most importantly, perfected and even strengthened. For example, the same is the lower ninja level. Everyone releases the art of how fireballs together, others spray a fireball, Yuanshin spews out hundreds of fireballs, and Yuangu directly spews out a sea of fire, which cannot be described as invincible. Yuangu's eldest son, Yuanjie, was a dilapidated god pupil who was able to spend time on everything he saw in an instant, and finally decayed and weakened. It sounds similar to the effect of Yuanjie's Daizu. The difference is that one is an attack skill and the other is more of an auxiliary skill. Yuanjie's most brilliant battle was to turn the goddess of the Sea of Western Olympus, Thesis, a strong man of the 38th level of the Emperor Venerable Realm. After being glared at by him, he changed from a young girl to an old woman who was about to die, and even the cultivation realm fell to the immortal monarch realm. Very powerful pupil technique. The disadvantage is that the energy storage time is a bit long. Chapter 388. Yuangu's 9th daughter, Yuanyu Butterfly, has a divine pupil, and when she releases the enemy opposite sex whose strength is lower than her, she can let the other party immediately enter the red dust dream, and truly achieve the soldier of surrender without a fight. Her seduction pupil technique is a divine technique to clean up miscellaneous soldiers, and the most important thing is that no one can escape her pupil technique. At the same time, if her pupil technique is released on a friendly side, it can increase the desire to fight of her own opposite sex, and suddenly burst into flames. Strength has increased tenfold. It is even more exaggerated than the special skill green fat red thin effect of Yumenghun awakening in the phaseless realm. And Yuanyu Butterfly's own appearance is also the existence of the country, and every move carries a charm that people can control. Yuanshin's father, unfortunately, is not a divine pupil, and as early as when he was in the nether, he fell when he fought with the centaurs. By the Yuanshin generation, there was no need to say much about his own tricky demon pupils. His elder brother Yuanzhen, the world-destroying god pupil, can shoot out the divine light that destroys everything from his eyes, and his attack power is extremely strong. In a battle with Western Olympus, with a cultivation of the immortal monarch realm alone, he destroyed the Western divine army at a glance, directly killing 30 Emperor Venerable realms in seconds, and the immortal Emperor realm and immortal monarch realm were even more numerous. Of course, there are also shortcomings. Just like his third uncle Yuanjie's ruined divine pupil, it has been stored for too long. Yuanzhen's daughter, Yuanyu, has a true pupil in her heart, can spy on the true thoughts in everyone's hearts, and even read memories, and any lies cannot hide her. Although it seems that Hitomi is not as heaven-defying as her parents and grandfathers, her role in the Yuan family army is very important, and the high-end work of catching internal ghosts and inquiring about intelligence depends on her alone. At this moment, Yuanjie was curiously looking at Yuanjie, Yisuking, Yumengan, Li Tiansha, and Yuan Qianayu. The next moment, she was knocked on the back of her hand by her father Yuanzhun with chopsticks, and scolded her with a cold face. "It's all a family, let's take your eyes to look around," Yuanyu said aggrievedly. "People are curious," Yuanzhun said with a smile. He stood up to ease the atmosphere. Okay, today is a great day for my grandson Yuanjie to go home. Come, everyone toast. Cheers." After sitting down, Yuangu looked at Yuanjie's golden divine pupils curiously and asked, "Xiaoji, what is your ability?" Yuanjie suddenly said that he had more skills. My eyes, a lot of abilities. I don't know which one do you want to ask." "A lot. I should have 50 skills." As soon as these words came out, everyone looked at him in shock. 50? Are you sure you're not joking? Most of the divine pupils have a single attack skill, and few people will have more than 3 skills at the same time. Are you sure these 50 are not a hodgepodge? It is indeed a hodgepodge, but each skill is thrown out separately, and after cultivating to the extreme, it can create a strong person. Yuanjie began to show his skills from riding the wheel eye, but he didn't expect that the skill of the reincarnation eye was not half finished. And everyone waved their hands helplessly and said, "Okay, it's probably clear, although everyone is very strange, which one who inherits the bloodline of the divine pupil is not the son of destiny? Perhaps, the many and complex skills are the characteristics of his Yuanjie's reincarnation eye. It's not a bad thing, at least on the battlefield, confuse the opponent. When the enemy thinks that you are already at the end of the crossbow, suddenly come with a more powerful skill, snapping in the face." Yuangu is very happy. Now, in his vein, plus Yuanjie's words, there are 7 divine pupils. In the future, his voice in the family will rise to the top. Yuanjie planned that after tomorrow, he would take Li Tiansha and Xiao Yuan Qianayu, as well as the resurrected Pain 5 Dao, to enter the Nirvana Divine Spring together to quickly improve his cultivation. Yisuking was pregnant, but what effect would it have on the child after entering the Nirvana Divine Spring, so she did not follow. As for the matter of cultivation, at that time, she only needs to fuse with the ontology, and she can directly inherit the ontology in the Emperor Venerable Realm tens of millions of years ago, and even, it can rise again. Yu Menghem does not need this thing. Her cultivation focuses on cultivating the mind and experiencing mortal dust, which is not something that external forces like the Divine Spring can improve. At family banquets, there were more women than men, in order to actively respond to the ancestors' policy of multiple children. Basically, there are as many as 100 of their wives, and there are 10 in Yuanshan, and after Zizishuang joined the harem, she became the 11th aunt. In this way, Yuanjie is too honest. Moreover, this group of ants are as beautiful as flowers, and their physiques are also very amazing. Almost all of them have reached the God King body, SSS level, and if they are placed in the nether, it will be a force that destroys the heavens and the earth. The top physique, which is difficult to see in a country in the lower realm, is as many as cattle in the upper realm. I have to say that this is a very ironic, but very realistic thing. After a round of exchanges, Yuanjie had a good conversation with his new family, and Yisuking often went in and out of the wine bureau in her previous life, and her eloquence was naturally very good. Yu Mengan was always by the side, smiling gently, and didn't want to say more. And Li Tiansha fought with his sister-in-law Yuanyu hotly. In fact, don't look at Yuanyu's high generation, his real age is only 19 years old, and he belongs to Yuanzhen's old son. Wow! Shallow sister, you are also amazing, right? Yuanyu looked at Li Tiansha's significant changes from the plain to the plateau and then to Mount Everest, and he couldn't help but look envious. Although hers is not small, she also wants to have this technique that can adjust the size at will. It's too big, daily life is uncomfortable, dressing is fat, dressing tight and panicking. She is not married, she has no one she likes, and her body is just to please herself. If she had the chance, she still wished she could be smaller. Hee, I can't teach you this. Li Tiansha spat out his little fragrant tongue and mischievously grabbed the other party. Yuanyu just wanted to fight back, but she didn't expect Li Tiansha to become smaller again, and she pounced. Abominable, Yuanyu crossed his waist, glared at Li Tiansha angrily. and then chased after him. Xiao Yuan Qianyu went back in the company of the eldest lady. Yi Suking has always taken good care of Yu Meng'en's children, and she is even more meticulous than her own mother. In her words, it is to internalize a mother first, and then get started. Yu Meng'en shook her head helplessly. Although Yuan Qianyu is her daughter, it seems that her daughter and herself have not been with her two sisters for a long time. They were all snatched away by them, and usually only when they were bedtime, they would reluctantly return it to her. Yu Meng'en was thinking, or else, another one, right? Speaking of giving birth, Li Tiansha saw that the two good sisters were pregnant, and she was more anxious than anyone. I took the initiative to work overtime every night, but there was still no movement. Meng Po was overjoyed to learn that the Yuan family had agreed to send troops to aid the Hades Palace the next day. I feel that my task is almost halfway completed. The last half is to bring Yi Suking back. As for whether she can come back, it is not something Meng Po should consider. Think about it, how could King Yanluo, the sister control, be willing to put his sister back? Chapter 389. Here, there is the immortal spring of the gods. Yuanjie personally brought the Yuanjie family to the southernmost part of the Yuanjie family's territory. Here the fairy mist is ethereal, there are mountains standing there, and from time to time there are spirit beasts shuttling and rushing. Oh my god, Brother J, that's a dragon. I can't imagine that there really is a real dragon in this world. Li Tiansha shook Yuanjie's arm and shouted excitedly. Yuanjie just smiled. In fact, the dragon, he had already seen it. These are horned dragons in front of them, evolved from dragons, but in fact the grade is one grade lower than Yinglong. Most of the dragons evolved are horned dragons, a few are yellow dragons. As for Yinglong, probably not evolution. The legend is just a lie. What the snake becomes a python in 500 years, the python becomes a dragon in 500 years, the dragon becomes a dragon in 500 years, the dragon becomes a dragon in 500 years, the snake becomes a dragon in 500 years, the snake becomes a dragon in 500 years, all fake. No matter where you go, no matter what species it is, you don't have that bloodline, and you basically can't awaken to that grade. For example, people, without the bloodline of the immortal body, will never be able to awaken an SSS-level physique. The same is true of dragons, as long as they are not the descendants of Yinglong Zhengjin, other little snakes will not be able to evolve into Yinglong for a lifetime. Similar to the plot of Naruto, you have no noble bloodline and can only become cannon fodder. Of course, there is one exception. Teacher Kai cultivated the art of 8 doors of Dunjia to the extreme, angrily opened the 8 doors, and almost kicked out of the finale, but it is a pity that Kishimoto did not allow it, because he is not the protagonist. In the past 2 days, the duel arena is all special yokai. Last night I was full of blood and dirt spots and was kicked by yokai. I am stupid. 305W, not to mention the others, the several women around Yuanjie, each of them has an extraordinary origin. Yi Suking is one of the 100 incarnations of Yanmi, the eldest princess of the Hades Palace, and her body is the biological sister of King Yanluo, and the bloodline naturally does not need to be explained. When Li Tiansha first awakened her physique in Zhenghua No. 1, she was tested to be only the most garbage F-grade physique, but in fact, her physique was not bad, but also extremely against the sky. She was the legendary warrior Super Saiyan, the existence that could burst a galaxy with one punch. The reason why she was rated an F-grade is most likely because she is not a Langsing person. The body of Yu Meng'en is an ancient divine beast Misty, born at the time of the opening of the heavens and earth, and a creature of the same era as Yinglong, the ancestor of the true dragon. After tens of thousands of years of reincarnation cultivation in the red dust world, no one knows how much divine power is contained in the body. Once she unseals the seal, she will stand directly at the top of the plane. They are undoubtedly real immortal bodies, SSR level, and they are extremely excellent immortal bodies. As for Yuanjie, he learned from the mouth of his ancestor that all those who have divine pupils have a physique that is an immortal body. He didn't know how many immortal bodies there were in the ancient god realm. And there should not be many of them. The higher the physique, the stronger the talent after entering, the more immortal power that can absorb the immortal spring. In the realms of Heisei, gradual convergence, great evening, phaseless, celestial phenomena, returning to mortal realm, and transformation realm, the power contained in the body is called spiritual power. After being promoted to the God King realm, spiritual power will transform into divine power. The divine power is 100 times stronger than the spiritual power, and the attack power. If two people face each other, the divine power will definitely crush the spiritual power. The powerhouses of the God King realm, Flying Fairyland, Heavenly Fairyland, Zhuan Immortal Realm, and Golden Immortal Realm all use divine power. Once cultivated to the Immortal Monarch Realm, the divine power will evolve into immortal power. However, the increase in immortal power is not as exaggerated as that of divine power compared to spiritual power, and it is only about 10 times the increase. Among them, below the Immortal Monarch Realm, each realm has only 10 steps, and each realm of Immortal Monarch Realm, Immortal Venerable Realm, and Immortal Emperor Realm has become 100. As for the Supreme Emperor Venerable Realm, according to the ancestors, there is no upper limit. But in the Emperor Venerable Realm, every promotion to 10 levels is extremely difficult, and 10 layers are one step. Now the combat power of the Yuan God is about 200 times in the Emperor Venerable Realm. Yuanjie took a deep breath, and he stepped into the Immortal Spring first. The Divine Spirit Immortal Spring is divided into two pools for men and women, that is, Yuanjie and Grandpa Yuanshan are in the same pool. Li Tiansha took Xiao Yuanqianiu to the Women's Fairy Spring, accompanied by Zizishuang and Xiaonan. As for Pain's other 5 paths, they sat quietly in the Shenwei space, absorbing Brother Ji's excess immortal spring powering. Detecting that the host's cultivation is skyrocketing, the system has automatically used the tank's experience upgrade card, unlimited time. It is detected that the host has been upgraded to the Heavenly Wonderland, and the dynamic vision of the Sharingan has evolved to the full level, making everything moving in the field of vision become slow. Detected that the host has been upgraded to Zhuan Immortal Realm, and White Eye adds a new function to see through the weakness of the opponent's moves. It was detected that the host had been promoted to the Zhuan Immortal Realm, and the consumption of divine power by all pupil techniques was reduced by half. Detected that the host has been promoted to the Golden Wonderland, and learned the new illusion of the Eye of Reincarnation, Wang Quanjin. It can forcibly pull the enemy's consciousness into the 18th level of purgatory, and torture it both in the will and physically. Detected that the host has been promoted to the Immortal Monarch Realm, and learned the new illusion of the Eye of Reincarnation, Santa Chuan. Enemies can be forcibly trapped in Seihean, an endless tower of stones, and you need to pay a high ransom to leave the fantasy realm. Detected that the host has been promoted to the Immortal Venerable Realm, and learned the Reincarnation Eye new pupil technique, Atsuji. Create debilitating mudslides that bury everything within the area. Detected that the host has been promoted to the Immortal Emperor Realm, because the strength has increased too fast. The system reward has not been prepared, waiting for subsequent distribution. Detected that the host has been promoted to the Emperor Venerable Realm, because the strength is improved too fast. The system reward has not been prepared, waiting for the subsequent distribution. I don't know how long it took. Yuanjie opened his eyes, only to see that with himself as the center, the Divine Spirit Immortal Spring formed a whirlpool. Immortal power continued to pour into his body, washing and moisturizing his meridians. He clenched a single circle, his eyes were like a torch, and he was quite powerful. Unexpectedly, I actually upgraded directly from the Flying Immortal Realm to the Emperor Venerable Realm. Originally, he thought that after changing the map, like other worlds, he would start to be a younger brother again and experience the pain of starting over. Unexpectedly, the Yuan family's Divine Immortal Spring was so miraculous that it could make a person's cultivation jump rapidly out of thin air. Emperor Venerable Realm, even in the Ancient God Realm, I should have the power to fight, right? I don't know what their strength should be now. Kayano and Grandpa, the legendary underworld of the island country. There are several theories of the underworld, from the Huanquan kingdom dominated by the great god of Huanquan to the hell dominated by the great king of Yan. After absorbing the Buddhist scriptures, and Wang Quanjin was chosen here as a new illusion. Santa River is the Styx River in the myth of the island country, referring to the myth of the underworld in China. The difference is that they do not have a bridge and need to pay the boatman to reach the other side from the Sai River plain. Segahara, children who die before their parents must pile up a stone tower on Segahara before they can leave, and when it is about to be completed, a demon will jump out and destroy the stone tower, endlessly. Yubaji is the older brother of the sand-boiling god Subitamoyu, Subichira, the exclusive pupil name of the Reincarnation Eye. Chapter 390. Yuanjie glanced at the 5 ways of pain in the space of Shenwei, because they had been reborn, which was not the same as the previous 6 puppets. The 6 puppets are unconditionally higher than the host cultivation. However, after being reborn, they will no longer enjoy this treatment, and like ordinary people, they need to cultivate and become stronger on their own. Their current appearance is no different from before, except that there is no longer a black rod on their bodies, and they still retain the pupils of the eye of reincarnation. This power, he did not tell anyone else, intended to be used as his own hole card. If the Yuan family knows, your kid can also make a divine pupil, maybe he will catch him and slice it for research. Yuanjie slightly checked the cultivation of the 5 paths of pain, among which the beast Dao Jiang, the Azure Dao Li Wenyu, and the hungry ghost Dao Dongyu reached the Emperor Venerable Realm, and the Hell Dao and the Human Dao were only at the level of the Immortal Emperor Realm. It seems that the system's tenfold cultivation experience card is also effective for them. The 3 of them are originally Super SS-level physiques, and they must have cultivation talents. This time, it evolved into an SSS-level physique and went to higher level. Why not SSR physique? Most likely, because they were not born with this power, but were generated by the later system, the bloodline would not be so pure. Thinking of this, a surging breath came from Yuanjie's side. Immortal Emperor Realm, Yuanjie was pleasantly surprised to feel the powerful power in his body. Yuanjie got up and walked over to congratulate him, but Yuanjie soon noticed that something was wrong. What realm have you been promoted? Yuanjie frowned. He found that he couldn't see through his grandson's cultivation level. Grandpa, I am already 20 times in the Emperor Venerable Realm. I didn't expect that my grandson would be terrifying. Directly from the Flying Immortal Realm to the Emperor Venerable Realm, and is it a 20-fold cultivation? This kind of achievement, even in the Taku Yuan family, I am afraid that it is unprecedented and there is no one to come, right? Let's go, let's get out. Yuanjie was not discouraged. Anyway, no matter how strong he is, Yuanjie is also his grandson. What about his own people? What is there to be jealous of? It just so happens that Sun's skill is so strong that he can lie flat. If you are bored at home, you can even write a book. The name is Sun's is actually the Emperor. I put it out is very reasonable, right? Is reasonable and reasonable, indeed reasonable. Yuanjie stepped out of the Divine Spirit Immortal Spring and keenly discovered that the spring water of this immortal pool was actually half less out of thin air. It seems that it should be the credit of Pain Wu Dao. Fortunately, his ascension realm is high, otherwise I really don't know how to explain. After waiting for a long time, the little hand dragged Xiao Yuanqian out. Li Tiansha's cultivation did not increase at all, probably because of her physique. She was destined to not need immortal power at all, and she could also burst immortals. Xiao Yuanqian has changed a lot, and at a young age, he has been promoted to the 60-fold level of the Immortal Monarch Realm. You know, she is only 3 years old now. 3-year-old Immortal Monarch Realm, how unbelievable should her talent be? The higher the talent, the more immortal power will be absorbed from the immortal spring of the gods, and the faster the upgrade will be. Ancestor Yuanjie was waiting for them to come out at the door, because this time it was the 3 divine pupils who entered. He takes it very seriously. Even if you don't have time, make time. When he saw Yuanjie's cultivation, he couldn't help but be stunned, rubbed his eyes, and looked again. He even wondered if he had read it wrong. That's right. Really reached the Emperor Venerable Realm? It's a great score from the world. Where is this skyrocketing? Where is the flying branch to become a phoenix? This. Yuanjie suddenly didn't know what words to use to describe it. So, he set his eyes on Yuanjie. Well, the Immortal Emperor Realm is 10 heavy, okay, stronger than his brother back then. His brother Yuanjie, when he came out of the Immortal Spirit Immortal Spring, he had only just been promoted to the level of the Immortal Monarch Realm, and after so many years of cultivation, he had reached the Immortal Emperor Realm. His grandfather Yuangu, his talent is equally terrifying, and he was also in the Immortal Emperor Realm when he came out. Generally speaking, before the clansmen enter the Immortal Spring, they are basically the cultivators of the Flying Immortal Realm, and when they come out, they are from the Immortal Monarch Realm, which is relatively talented. The words of the Immortal Venerable Realm are very talented. If he can break through to the Immortal Emperor Realm in one fell swoop, it will be a peerless demon and the future is limitless. However, if before that, someone told Yuanjie that I could directly break through to the Emperor Venerable Realm in the Immortal Spring, Genshin snapped and slapped him. Do you dream? He never thought about it, he didn't dare to think about it, so he didn't know what to say. The Immortal Spring of the Divine Spirit was arranged by him and other ancestors, and he knew where the upper limit of the Immortal Spring was. It is absolutely impossible to break through to the Emperor Venerable Realm. when pigs fly. However, what is the situation of Yuanjie? Yuanshin put aside his distractions, he looked at Xiao Yuanqianyu, and couldn't help sighing. Alice, it was still worse than the talent of her father and her grandfather. At this time, the 10 ancestors Yuanxing handed over a document. Yuanshin took it, and he glanced at it slightly. This is a roster that records the entry of clansmen into the immortal spring for millions of years, which records in detail what each person's cultivation is before entering, and what cultivation is after entering. The 10 ancestors Yuanxing Lao Wai was relieved, and he sighed, I can't imagine that today, I can actually witness the production of 2 new records. Genshin was puzzled. 2? That's right, big brother, one is the record of the highest realm of ascending after coming out, and the other is the record of the highest realm of ascending and surpassing. The first record, created by Yuanjie, entered the divine immortal spring and flew directly to the Emperor Venerable Realm. There is no ancient before, and it is estimated that there will be no one after. The second record, created by Yuan Qianyu, the daughter of Yuanjie, flew directly to the immortal monarch realm from a little girl who had not yet begun to cultivate, and the future can be expected. Genshin listened stupidly. What the hell? Did that little girl practice before? Doesn't that mean she broke through 15 big realms at once? Directly broke through the 10 great realms created by the previous one. Hiss, it looks even worse than her daddy. Yuanshin was overjoyed. This is good, since the Yuanjie family teleported to the ancient god realm, the strength of the Yuan family has reached a new level. Congratulations. In the entire Yuan family, there are currently only 65 Emperor Venerable Realms left, plus 1 Yuanjie, that is to say, the current strength of the Yuan family is far ahead of the Eastern Emperor Mansion, and it is on an equal footing with the Heavenly Emperor Mansion. The Eastern Emperor's Mansion is only 63 Emperor Venerable Realms. As for the Huaxa tribe, the power of Nu Wanniang Niang, it is similar to the Donghuang Mansion. It is worth mentioning that Nu Wanniang Niang is the sister of today's Emperor Taihao, Heavenly Emperor Taihao, also known as Fuxi. Of course, the true combat power of the Yuan family was only known by Yuan Shen and the other elders. No force in the ancient god world dares to underestimate the Yuan family now. What they see is not because the Yuan family has a lot of high-end combat power, but almost every clan has the cultivation of the golden immortal realm. Even, the immortal venerable realm is not worth much in the Yuan family. If the immortal venerable realm is placed in other forces, how to say that it is a general? In the Yuan family, you can ask for directions casually, they are all special immortal venerable realm. Because Yuanji's cultivation had reached the Emperor Venerable Realm, he was given the position of 127 elders of the Yuan family. Every Emperor Venerable Realm can be an elder, and the order of elders is ordered sequentially. In other words, the Yuan family once had 126 Emperor Realms. Yuanji's wife, grandfather Yuangu, is 123 elders. 2 elders appear in one vein, which is also a rare situation in the Yuan family. Yuanjie accepted it gladly, presumably with his status as the patriarch. The Hades Palace should be cautious before making trouble. Since the matter on his side is over, he will go to the Hades Palace at a later date. Go meet your uncle. King Yanluo, Yanmo. Chapter 391. Late at night, Yi Suking crouched in Yuanji's arms, drawing circles on his chest. I suddenly got a little scared. What are you afraid of? I was afraid that after fusion, I would not be me, but a different person. It's okay. In fact, Yuanjie was also worried, but he was not worried about his body, but her soul memory. In case she inherits a memory that should not be inherited, then is this her still Yi Suking? Now the relationship between the two is very pure, just keep it in the current state. Yuanji's heart is very conflicted. On the one hand, he doesn't want her to leave, on the other hand, he wants to watch her get better and leave no regrets. Sleep. The two did not move their hands and feet, because Yi Suking was still pregnant, although it was possible, but it was not necessary. The next day, at breakfast, Xiao Yuanqianai looked at Yi Suking, and then looked at Yuanjie. Dad, you'd better enchant your magic Amaterasu and Wang Quanjin in the eyes of the eldest lady. Huh? What do you mean? Just listen to me. At this time, Xiao Yuanqianai has not yet shown her strength, and everyone thinks that she is a fairy tale. Yuanjie touched her little head with pity, and said with a smile, okay, Dad listens to you. So, he looked at Yi Suking, and after seeing the other party nodding, his golden eyes flickered. Yi Suking's left eye enchanted the offensive pupil technique Amaterasu, and his right eye enchanted the new illusion technique Wangquanjin. After eating, Yuanjie's family walked out of the compound, leaving only Xiao Yuanqianiu at home for Xiaonan to take care of. Li Tiansha and Yu Mengan stood side by side on both sides of Yuanjie, one bright and moving, the other gentle and quiet. Among them, Yuangu, Yuandeu, Yuaniuti, Yuanzhen, Yuanchen, and Yuaniu, the divine pupils of Yuanjie's vein, gathered together and went to the Hades Palace to suppress the formation for him. Of the 35 divine pupils of the Yuan family, 7 are from the Yuan ancient lineage, which shows that their status is remarkable. This time, even the 10 ancestors of the Yuan family came over. Ancestor Yuanshan is a top powerhouse with ancient heavy pupils. The ability of ancient heavy pupils is not much to be repeated, and the emperor realm is 200 heavy. The second ancestor Yuanjing, female, with Zuanai nice pupils, can freeze all things, even time, and the strength is as high as 120 times in the emperor venerable realm. 3 ancestors Yuanzhen, male, with a delusional god pupil, can see through everything, insight into the origin of all things, all lies and disguises, in front of him cannot hide. In the ancient god world, many strong people go out to do bad things will generally create accidents or erase traces on the spot. The delusional god pupil is simply their nemesis, their own strength emperor realm 117. However, Yuan Zhen's delusional pupil is different from Yuan Yu's spiritual true pupil, and delusion can only see through the surface, but cannot see through people's hearts. The 6 ancestors Yuan spirit, female, with a pupil of the azure soul, can directly plunder the opponent's skill and even life force, and turn it into his own use, which is very against the sky. Therefore, even if she is 6 million years old, she is still young and eternal, and her strength has reached the 99 levels of the Emperor Venerable Realm. 8 ancestors Yuan Huang, male, with Fuguang immortal pupil, eyes can bloom dazzling light, has extremely destructive power, can incinerate all things, belongs to the Amaterasu Proversion, Emperor Venerable Realm 99. 9 ancestors Yuan Mani, female, has a ghost-slaying pupil. The ability is very simple and rude. The attack power on the spirit body is increased 1,000,000 times. She can't beat people. Fighting ghosts is extremely fierce. The strong man of the Hades Palace wants to say that the person he is most afraid of, it is her, although her cultivation is not high. Only the Emperor Realm is 10, lower than Yuanjie. The 10 ancestors Yuanzing, with a Daobu divine pupil, can approve the yin and yang broken 5 elements, see through the mortal world of the immortal world. Everything in heaven and earth knows everything, although the strength is only 93 layers of the Emperor Venerable Realm, but it is the top wisdom tank of the Yuan family. The 10 ancestors of the Yuan family personally came to congratulate the Yuanjie family, which made Yuangu feel flattered. Yuanshan smiled and said, "Who said we came to send you over, huh? Let's go to the Hades Palace together and let the new allies see the heritage of our Yuan family." The corner of Yuanjie's mouth twitched. "Are you going to show the background? Are you sure it's not intimidating people?" However, he didn't expect the Yuan family to attach so much importance to himself, and actually sent 10 ancestors to cheer. After Yuanshan looked around for a week, he said lightly, "Hades Palace is far away, everyone pack up and leave immediately." Yes, Yuanjie thought to himself, is it far away? Yesterday, he used the infinite flying thunder god to walk around the gate of the Hades Palace, and planted a coordinate by the way. At that time, the guards of the Hades Palace saw him, and they wanted to question who was coming, but Yuanjie turned into a cyan flash and ran. The time-space channel of the Ivory Incarnation has no distance limit in theory. As long as there are coordinates, it can be transmitted in the first time. So, Yuanjie stepped forward to salute, and he slowly spoke, "Ancestor, don't bother, the Hades Palace can be reached in an instant." In addition to Yuanshan, the other ancestors looked at him in confusion. "What, are you kidding? The Hades Palace is located in the south, and the Yuan family stands in the east, and the distance between the two is tens of billions of miles. Even if it is a top powerhouse like Yuanshan, it takes 2 hours at the fastest to cross with a technique of shrinking the ground into inches. The problem is, shrinking the ground into inches is a magical power that can only be comprehended by more than 100 weights of the Emperor Venerable Realm. Where will the others be?" Yuanjie smiled slightly. His right eye reincarnation eye pattern rotated, and a bottomless space-time vortex suddenly appeared in front of everyone. This is, the 3 ancestors Yuan was really stunned, and his delusional pupils naturally saw that this move was extraordinary. Yuanshan laughed. He patted Yuanjie's shoulder appreciatively, and took the lead in stepping into the time and space vortex. Seeing that the eldest brother had all entered, the other ancestors naturally followed. Hades' palace, a black mist floated to the throne, and the black mist condensed into a black-robed old man holding a bird's head staff. His eyes were like two unexpected abysses, making people feel terrified when they looked at it. And on either side of him, there were several beautiful blonde women standing. These beauties are all the favors of the gods he plundered from the mortal world. God, too, has 7 passions and 6 desires. I heard that the burning heavenly yin division cooperated with the Yuan family over there, your honorable Lord Hades. Yes, why? Will the Yuan family choose to burn the sky yin division? And not us Titan underworld? It is said that, his subordinate hesitated for a moment, is it because Yanmo's sister married the Yuan family? The black-robed old man was silent. Shouldn't his sister be a fertile water that does not flow into the fields of outsiders? How can you marry someone else? He really couldn't understand Yanmo's operation, and although he couldn't understand it, he was shocked. However, once the burning heavenly yin division received the divine help of the Yuan family, in the future, the Hades Palace was afraid that their family would be the only one. The Hades Palace has 3 major forces, namely Yanmo's burning heavenly yin division, Hades Titan Underworld, and Anubis Duat Underworld, which have been vying for the sovereignty of Hades Palace for many years. Sovereign forces can give priority to the reincarnation power of mortals. Every time they send a mortal into reincarnation, they can collect the power of rebirth from it, and all the daily cultivation of the gods of the Hades Palace is inseparable from this thing. Hades muttered, it seems that Zeus's divine army beat them hard enough, it's time to step up. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 392. Yanmo came to the bottom of a tree that towered into the clouds and could not be seen. This tree was called Bodhi. This place is different from other places. It is full of life, containing a vigorous breath of life, not stained with a trace of death. He looked at the woman with her eyes closed under the tree from a distance. It was his sister, Yanmi. Sister, tens of millions of years have passed since you left in the mortal world, and now I finally wait for you to return. This time, I will definitely not let you leave again. As for your avatar, marrying someone else, it is just an incarnation, and when you successfully fuse, the avatar is nothing, and all the causes and effects are gone. Thinking of this, he took out the judge's pen and drew a talisman and hit Yanmi. The talisman came to Yanmi, automatically disappeared into the body, and disappeared. At this moment, all the gods of the entire Hades Palace heard a breathless shout. Yanmo, come out and meet me. Boom. A golden order divine chain was inserted into the open space in front of the Hades Palace from 9 days away. The guards shivered, and they looked at the man in blue flying in midair, very angry, but did not dare to do anything. The behavior of the man in Xingyi is undoubtedly provoking the Hades Palace, who would directly make a move without saying a word. The golden order divine chain exuded a shining immortal power, which made the gods of the Hades Palace dare not approach. There are gods who are not afraid of death, and boldly step forward, but they are directly annihilated by the divine light and turned into nothingness. It turns out that God, too, will die? Yanmo's heart was startled, and he looked out the door with solemn eyes. Don't force me to tie you up. Yuanxian's tone was very flat, but it revealed an undoubted domineering. On the other side of the Titan underworld, Hades frowned. Didn't he say that the Yuan family cooperated with a burning sky yin division? Which one is this acting? Anubis's Yakwal mouth opened. He was naturally happy to see this scene. No one wanted to watch their opponent become stronger. Fight, fight, fight best. He guessed that it should be that the Yuan family fell out with a burning heavenly yin division. At this time, a golden order divine chain broke through the void and went straight to the Meru realm. Yanmo was shocked. He was bound, and the immortal light on the order god chain continued to erode his divine body. If you have something to say, don't do it. It's late. Late NM, you only shouted for a few seconds? It will take time for me to come out. You're too slow. The golden order god chain dragged Yanmo out and threw him heavily on the ground. Yanmo's eyes were gloomy, and he couldn't imagine that this kid's cultivation was even more inscrutable. Could it be that the group of people in the East are all monsters? How did you get promoted so quickly? A million years ago, He and Yuanjie belonged to the same Emperor Venerable Realm 110, and now, he can't even see each other's ass. This action of the Yuan god made Yanmo, who was the burning heavenly yin division, lose face. A group of divine pupils from the Yuan family crossed over, and everyone's eyes exuded colorful light. In the gloomy Hades palace, it is particularly dazzling. Hades and Anubis, who were watching the play not far away, gasped, "Playing so big? Is the Yuan family pouring out of the nest? Do they want to destroy the burning heavenly yin division?" One thing is to say, they don't want to see this situation, because once they start their hands, the sword has no eyes. Who can guarantee that they will not be harmed? Yanmo raised his head and noticed Yusuke, a face that was 7 points similar to his sister. The reason why they are 7 points similar is that they are not purebred Orientals, they are actually mixed. And Yusuke is different, she is a true descendant of Yanhuang. Yanmo saw his sister incarnated as a young man standing with a pair of golden eyes with circles. For some reason, Yanmo felt that he seemed to have seen it somewhere. Yuanjie held Yusuke's small hand tightly, and he could feel the tension in her heart at the moment. Even if it is an incarnation, the power of the bloodline cannot deceive people. When he saw Yanmo for the first time, Yusuke was sure that he was his cheap old brother. Unlike imagined, the legendary King Yanluo does not look so fierce and evil. At this time, the 10 temples Yanking, Ghost Judge, Mengpo, and Yuzing rushed out of the mansion one after another, surrounding Yanmo's side, all in the Emperor Venerable Realm. In fact, the strength of the Hades Palace is not bad. If it can be integrated, it will not lose to the Western Olympus and the Eastern Divine Court, but the three forces are incompatible. But more than people, huh? The Yuan family suddenly raised 15 breaths, and the momentum was even more majestic than the 10 Hualyan King. Since Yu Menghun returned to the ancient god realm, her cultivation has improved rapidly, and she has untied the shackles of heaven and earth. She can't use the divine immortal spring at all, and now she is already a strong person in the 15th level of the Emperor Venerable Realm, and now she is almost promoted one day at the speed of progress. As for Li Tiansha, although her body did not exude the power of the Emperor Venerable Realm, there were flames burning on her body, and no one would doubt that she might be able to punch herself. Don't say that Yanmo looked stupid. Even Hades and Anubis who were lurking on the side were equally stunned. There are actually 3 of the Emperor Venerable Realm hundredweights? No wonder it is said that the strength of the Yuan family is not lower than the 3 major forces. Even if it is Western Olympus, the Emperor realm that can be mastered, there are only 5. However, the 5 of them combined may not be able to beat Yuanjie alone. What? Yuanmini, this old lady is also here? Looking at those deep purple eyes, Hades shivered. He still can't forget that day. When he traveled through the god realm and saw a beautiful woman who had married into the Yuan family, and wanted to plunder it, a woman who only had a small immortal emperor realm suddenly burst out and beat him, the god of the Emperor Venerable Realm. Later, he learned that the other party's awakened ghost-slaying pupil was specially used to fight ghosts. Black and white impermanence lifted Yanmo up from the ground. His face was very ugly, and he didn't expect that as soon as the Yuan family came, he gave him a dismount. Yuanjie flew down. He first saluted Yanmo, and then smiled. "Uncle, long time to look." Just as the so-called stretching hand does not hit the smiling person, Yanmo pouted with an unnatural expression. "Who is your eldest brother?" The main thing is that there are too many strong people in the Yuan family, and he chooses to start with his heart first. It seems that the eldest brother doesn't want to recognize my brother-in-law very much. Yanmo naturally didn't want to admit it. Although you are the legendary divine pupil, so what? Only 20 layers of garbage cultivation cannot enter the eyes of the Buddha figure. Don't you want your sister to come back, uncle? Stammered Yanmo. "I naturally want to." He looked at Yusuke's slightly bulging lower abdomen and frowned. Although he knew that it was just an avatar, it was not okay for the avatar to be pregnant. He always had the discomfort of his cabbage being arched by a pig. He didn't want to recognize this cheap brother-in-law anyway. "I hope you don't think about making small moves. I don't like it." Genshin spoke lightly. Yanmo's heart froze, and he suddenly hesitated. If he had brainlessly kidnapped his sister by his side, he believed that the Yuan family would have destroyed the burning heavenly yin division the next day. Just like 3 million years ago, the Yuan family destroyed Goshian. One day, just one day, doesn't take the next day. Modified a bug. Chapter 390 wrote that the Yuan family only has 15 emperor realms. In fact, this is unreasonable. Logically speaking, the immortal body, SSR level, can definitely be promoted to the Emperor realm. Moreover, the Yuan family is not only divine pupils, so the number is changed to 65, my pattern is still too small. Chapter 393. But the problem is that the Peerless spell has already been engraved, and there is no way to take it down. Yanmo regretted it now. He already knew that the Yuan family would send so many strong people to the Hades Palace, and he would not be so impulsive in what he said. However, on one side are loved ones, on the other is power. Ever since tens of thousands of years ago, when the god of war made a big fuss in the divine mansion, the entire Yin division began to falter. Yanmo's strength tens of millions of years ago was more than 100 times in the Emperor Venerable realm, and he was knocked down by the god of war, and now it took a long time to slowly recover. It was precisely because of that farce that his sister Yanmi, in order to become stronger, decided to cultivate the one thought floating life immortal technique, and dispersed herself to travel to the red dust world. Tens of thousands of years have passed since this farewell. Thinking of this, Yanmo's gaze softened as he looked at Yasuking. In any case, she has always been an incarnation of her sister, representing her will. Moreover, it is the only remaining incarnation today, and it is the key to my sister's awakening. Yanmo was a little irritated when he saw that big belly. He was not ready to become an uncle. If your sister disappeared for many years and came back with a big one and a small one, would you be in a good mood? When he saw Yuanjie, he was upset, and turned his head away with a cold snort. My sister, Yasuking was a little dazed. She suddenly became overwhelmed. Her heart actually refused to recognize her relatives. She always thought that she was the only daughter of her parents on earth. An older brother out of nowhere? It's a bit hard to accept. Seeing that Yasuking did not speak, Yanmo's gaze darkened for a moment, and then he forced a smile to pull her in. Unexpectedly, Yasuking dodged his hand and grabbed Yuanjie instead. Yanmo stared at Yuanjie deadly. It was you who forced me to deceive my good sister who was obedient to my brother's orders. The sister who liked to run behind her ass the most was gone, replaced by Yasuking, who was a little unfamiliar with herself. Yanmo knew that the incarnation and the main body would inherit the memory, which was different from what Mangpo said. In fact, it was 100% inherited. However, the specific choice is determined by the ideological struggle between the main body and the incarnation. In other words, as long as the two merge, his sister will most likely run away with other men. At this moment, a dark arrow shot over, aiming at Yasuking. Yuanjie and the others found out at the first time, but they didn't make a move. They wanted to see Yuanjie's ability. The Yuan family will not be optimistic about a clan member who has a full body of cultivation but actually fights and pulls his crotch. Even if Yuanjie didn't find out, I believe that with Yanmo's strength, he could block it a second before he hit. Yanmo's expression changed. He looked back sharply. There was actually Xiao who dared to hurt his sister? Although it is only an incarnation, it is absolutely not possible. However, Yuanjie moved faster than him, and he moved while the dark arrow was still a kilometer away. He first inhaled it with divine power, and then multiple sections of CD-free flying thunder gods flashed, following the flight trajectory of the dark arrow, looking for the murderer all the way. Gone. Yuanjie twisted his sword eyebrows and looked around. He opened his white eyes, and everywhere he entered his eyes was white. Suddenly, there was a change in one place, and he subconsciously turned his head slightly. Ding! A sharp dagger slashed his cheek and flowed scarlet blood. Yuanjie released Shen Wei and cut off the hand that popped out of the void. A muffled snort of pain came, and Yuanjie took advantage of his unpreparedness to directly pull the man out of the strange space. That's the hand you just moved, isn't it? Unexpectedly, the man was tough, and he nodded calmly. It's just a broken hand. As long as he is given time, the divine body will recover on its own. Good at assassination? Who sent you? The other party smiled contemptuously. Do you think I will tell you? Oh, Yuanjie's reincarnation. I activated Wang Quanjin and directly pulled the other party into the 18-layer purgatory. The moment he entered, a ghost judge with green faces and fangs shot the case. Cassilia, do you know what crime you have committed? What's the crime? You have mutilated billions of people in your life, and you still defend your innocence? Cassilia's eyes widened. Billions? Since he became an assassin, he has assassinated at most 100,000 people. The ghost judge said unhurriedly. You, 103,686 years ago, trampled on the lawn, causing 20 immortal grasses to lose their immortal opportunities. 103,587 years ago, you passed through the mountains and forests and trampled 6 immortal ants to death. 103,534 years ago, you defecated in the wild, causing 18 fairy ants to either suffocate or smell to death. 103,489 years ago, you camped in the wild, and when you were resting and turning over, you crushed 26 fairy ants to death. The Casilluns are numb. Do you know what you are talking about? Immortal grass fairy ants are also creatures. Because you killed too much, this seat sentenced you to the Sword Mountain Purgatory. Never be born beyond life. Ru, any objections? I have. You're pure. I'm not convinced. The objection is invalid. Execute. The ghost judge dropped a token, and the little ghost immediately took Casillo away. Casillo was surprised to find out why he, a master of the 80 layers of the immortal Emperor realm, could not resist a little ghost. He was thrown into the mountain of knives, and all the clothes on his body disappeared at some point. Let's go. Behind him, there was a blue-faced Azure holding a long whip in his hand and snapped at his body. Ugh, the pain is so painful. It is not the pain of the body, but the trembling of the soul. In comparison, the flesh pain caused by Deo Mountain is so insignificant. Casillo gritted his teeth, and with a difficult hand, he grabbed the knife mountain and climbed up little by little. But the blade was extremely sharp, and it didn't take long for him to blur his flesh and blood, and the temperature was extremely high here, because next to it was a copper pillar purgatory, like salt, burning his wounds. It didn't take long for him to hold on. After becoming a god, he couldn't remember how long he hadn't experienced this kind of pain. Where did it come from? Whose life is obeyed? Summoned truthfully, let you go. I say, Casillo burst into tears. This damn place, he didn't want to stay for a moment. I'm from Valhalla in the west, I received an assassination mission, and as for who issued the bounty, I don't know. Yuanjie narrowed his eyes. Valhalla in the west? After Casillo explained everything, he did not receive a pardon from the ghost judge. Countless blades cut his divine body. Direct divine annihilation. Unlike monthly reading is torturing spiritual will, and Wong Quanjin. It's going to really die. At this time, others flew over. Yanmo couldn't help but be stunned when he saw the shadow of Deo Mountain Purgatory behind Yuanjie. You're not from Hades? How could you have the Purgatory realm of the Yin Caod Mansion? Chapter 394. Because Yuanjie was next to him, Yanmo didn't dare to ask more. Casillo is like a dead dog, with wide eyes and a wide mouth, and seemed to have seen something horrible before he died. Yuanjie's right eye flickered, and a black flame turned him into ashes. Yuanjie stared at the black flame and Yuanjie's golden eyes and frowned. He thought thoughtfully. Xiaoji, are you alright? Yisuking threw herself at him and lowered her hand to see where he was injured. Yanmo looked at this warm scene, but instead of being moved, the corners of his mouth twitched. HMPH. Under the public, what kind of system have I become? He snorted coldly, venting his dissatisfaction. Although it is the embodiment of his own sister, no. Neither will avatars. Yuanjie came over and asked Yuanjie, do you know which force it is? Valhalla. Valhalla is a mysterious organization in the West. Not only the identity of the gods in it is very mysterious, but also the strength is very mysterious. However, just know that Western gods did it. Is it important? Others, there is no need to delve into them. Yuanjie patted Yuanjie's shoulder and said lightly, you come with me. Yuanjie's blue and black heavy pupils, the blue part has been flashing. With a gentle wave of his hand, Yuanjie immediately found that he was no longer in the Hades Palace, but in a land of chaos. Remnant, don't pretend, Yuanjie, ? He didn't understand who the ancestors were talking about, and he looked around and found that this heaven and earth were actually only himself. Yuanjie's gaze was like a torch, and his expression did not wave. Did you admit it yourself, or did I arrest you? Yuanjie was puzzled, and he said in a deep voice, Ancestor, what do you mean by this? I'm not talking about you. It seems that you are going to force me to do it. Yuanjie stared, and his hand suddenly pressed on Yuanjie's chest. Boom! From Yuanjie's body, a powerful energy suddenly burst out to fly out the Yuanjie bomb. Then, a Saiyan giant with a height of 30,000 meters stood in the chaotic world, and the giant raised his right foot and stepped towards the Yuanjie. Yuanjie's expression was cold. It's really you, Susanoo. Defeated generals dare to show their might? Yuanjie quickly condensed the handprint and shouted, great! His Dharma body suddenly skyrocketed, and a 30,000-meter giant grabbed Susanoo's raised foot with one hand, and then fell heavily on the ground. This is, Yuanjie looked at the giantized Yuanshin and he was shocked. What kind of spell is this? However, what made him feel most strange in his heart was that what Shinra Shinseng and what Susanoo were not his will. These pupils are like having self-awareness, and they don't need his consent at all, and they drive them out on their own. For the first time, Yuanjie felt that he was a puppet. What's going on here? Boom! Above the 9 heavens, several Golden Order divine chains broke through the void, penetrating Susanoo at an extremely fast speed. Yuanjie didn't know that behind him, a wisp of smoke was raised and transformed into a stunning woman. Her body is not covered with the wisps, and she looks extremely charming. The woman gritted her teeth and said indignantly, Yuan 11, it's you again. Genshin smiled slightly. It turned out to be you, Izanami. It seems that the will of fire in the high heavenly planes is all concentrated on you, I said. When I first explored the body of my descendants of the Yuan family, there was a faint sense of familiarity. It turns out that you are hiding here. Izanami smiled and said, it seems that you are quite smart. That's right. After Gao Xianitun was destroyed by your Yuan family, the will of the gods condensed to fire gathered together. Finally, one day, I found the Xianjie left by your Yuan family in the mortal world, and attached it to him. Ha! I give him the power of the gods of the high heavenly plane. Now his life is firmly under my control. He can't do without us anymore. So, you dare to kill me? Izanami flew over defiantly, her face close to Genshin. After Yuanjie heard the conversation between the two, his heart was shocked. It turned out that the so-called system in his body was disguised by Izanami, the main god of the high heavenly plane. She scanned the memories of each seed, because Yuanjie often read novels and tomatoes in her previous life, so she learned that there was a system, so she disguised herself as a system. If it is attached to other seeds, then she will disguise herself as a variety of grandfathers, similar to the existence of Medicine Elder. Where in the world is there a free lunch? If you want to become stronger, you have to pay a price. And the price of his Yuanjie is not only golden spirit coins. And his life? As Izanami said, now he has inherited the will of fire of the gods of the high heavenly plane. He alone can drive the power of the gods of Takamagahara, but one day he will be sacrificed by Izanami and used to resurrect the gods of Takamagahara. What dog system? Fake. It's all fake. It's all a lie. From the beginning, it was a conspiracy. Izanami's effeminate drive wrapped around Genji, her hand gently rubbed his face, and a touching and seductive sound sounded in her ears. Yuan 11, do you want to see that one day in the future, your descendants, with the power of the gods of the high heaven plane, will use this super pupil technique to destroy the Yuan family? Ha! Izanami was not afraid that Genshin would kill Genji, because during the 100 years of Genji's amnesia, she deliberately left and copied all his abilities to find a new seed. She knew that sooner or later the current host, Yuanjie, would fly back to the ancient god realm, and sooner or later she would have to return to the Yuan family, so she kept a hand. It just so happened that the fool in the Heavenly Emperor Mansion gave her a perfect opportunity to escape. Now, even if Yuanjie dies, she will not die. High Heaven Plane, immortal. It is my duty to reforge the glory of Goshianiden. Genshin chuckled, as if he saw all her intrigues. So, the money you have squeezed from him for so many years, I guess you should have paid a divine soul cultivation management fee to the Western Valhalla, right, Yozai? You actually know that Valhalla has this service. Yuanshin smiled indifferently, because, I am also an old customer of Valhalla. Izanami frowned. Yuanjie suddenly realized, no wonder his dog system is different from other systems, and he needs money. His consciousness probed into the Shinwei space and found that the room where he stored a large amount of gold spirit coins was empty. Damn it, Yuanjie scolded secretly, so deep in his heart. He suddenly felt that the powerful power of his body was so disgusting. But when you once stood on the top of a mountain, were you still willing to fall to the bottom? The corner of Yuanshin's mouth said playfully, do you think I can't take you guys? Little charm, come in. Outside the chaotic space, the 9 ancestors Yuanmei suddenly heard the call, and she snorted and quietly left the crowd. What's the matter? Eldest brother. Beat her up for me, don't give me face. Izanami smiled. Her strength was as high as 100 weights of the Emperor Venerable Realm. Even if she turned into a spirit body, her strength was 50 times in the Emperor Venerable Realm. A small Emperor Venerable Realm 10 heavy, also dares to hit me in vain? Are you sure it's not tickling the Buddha figures? Yuanjie's eyes flashed with black-purple light, and she smiled, rubbing her fists, and emitting a burst of crisp bones. Bang! Ah, Yaji disc. Yuanjie watched this scene with interest, and he squatted down and said with a calm face. Takamagahara, which has become history, can be remembered, but not worth remembering. You have been inherited from my clan and belong to the Eastern Gods, so it is better to be loyal to my Huaxa from now on. Chapter 395. Ba. Wish for the moon. Even though Izanami was softened all over, her mouth was still hard. Yuanjie smiled and said, some things, it's not that you don't want to, you won't do it. Since Izanami was stripped of his body from Genji, his abilities have been drained. Sometimes, relying too much on the system is not a good thing. Without a system, without plugins, you are a waste. No, not even waste. Yuanjie walked over, helped him up, and comforted him softly. Actually, your original pupil technique was erased by her with great god powers, and you don't have to be too sad. Me, the original Hitomi. Yuanjie was stunned. Yuanjie nodded, he squinted his eyes slightly, raised his hand, and pressed it on Yuanjie's heavenly spirit cover. Now, let me reproduce your original pupil technique to the world. In an instant, in the chaotic space, the 10 ancestors of the Yuan family appeared together, except for Yuanjie who was beating Izanami wildly, and Yuangu took her place. The 10 top Emperor Venerable Realms exerted their strength in unison, condensing into a Meru ancient array under their feet. The light of the Great Avenue descended from the sky and slashed towards Genji, who is located in the center of the Meru ancient array. Yuanjie suddenly felt a headache, and a trace of energy was swimming in his body. With each step, it hurts like a knife cutting a needle. Gradually, that strange energy gathered into a small lake in Yuanji's spiritual power pool. In the Meru ancient array, the 10 Yuan family powerhouses began to feel weak, and the load on them to perform this anti-heaven divine technique was very large. You can imagine a person who was originally a genius and became a fool after an accident. And what they are doing now is to restore this fool's IQ, and it is to restore his original talent. This was originally against the sky, because Yuanji's original pupil technique had been eaten by Izanami. There is a subtle energy left, and now, the ancestors of the Yuan family want to re-stimulate this energy. Big brother, the energy is too violent, I'm afraid this chaotic space can't hold on. 10 Ancestor Yuanxing shouted anxiously with Kurako in his hand. Yuanxing's face sank. If he awakened the pupil technique in the outside world, it would inevitably attract the attention of all parties. Seriously, the Supreme Heaven of Western Olympus is likely to descend on obliteration. Supreme Heaven is an honorific title for the Emperor Venerable Realm above 100 weights. Now he has not yet understood the attitude of the Eastern Divine Court, and he does not know whether they will help. First call all the Emperor Venerable Realms of the Yuan family and the 12 Guardian God families, and quickly descend on the Hades Palace, and they are about to fight. Yes, the second ancestor Yuanjing pinched out a magic seal and shot it out of the chaotic space. The Emperor Venerable Realm distributed by the Yuan family everywhere received the message at almost the same time, and they were puzzled. The ancestor summoned me to wait, then what are you still hesitating about? Hurry up. Yuanlin, what an ink blot you are. Can you be like a gentleman? Hurry up. The old lady is not a master in the first place, and I will beat you again. In the ancient god realm, dozens of divine lights rose, and their direction pointed directly at the Hades Palace. This anomaly was quickly captured by the people of Olympus in the west and the divine court in the east. Lord God, we have detected a drastic change in the aura of heaven and earth over there in the Hades Palace. Athena, you can't be mistaken. I hope I read it wrong. On the throne, a white-haired bearded man dressed in golden armor said in a deep voice, no, I also sensed that someone was doing something that should not be done. Speed, assemble and head to Hades. What a bunch of old sicks. It was claimed that only 10 ancestors had the cultivation of the Emperor Venerable Realm. Heavenly Emperor Taiheo is dumbfounded. This powerful force can be on an equal footing with the Heavenly Emperor Mansion. In the Huaxa tribe, a woman lying on her side suddenly opened her eyes, and she twisted the snake's body and stood upright. The Yuan family poured out. Presumably some calamity was encountered, and we immediately went to help. Boom, the chaotic space shattered, and Yuanjie and the 10 powerhouses of the Yuan family suddenly appeared in the sky above the Hades Palace. Hades and Anubis looked at each other. What ritual do they seem to be doing? Anubis Jackwall had grinned. Whatever they are doing, just destroy. On Anubis' body, pieces of golden armor condensed, and golden wings grew on his back, and he flew up and bombarded it with a gas scepter. Yuanjie's eyes were cold, and he freed up a hand, and a golden order god chain descended from 9 heavens away, directly penetrating Anubis. Hades smiled and shook his head. "What a cute little guy." Then he turned into a black mist and floated away. At this time, a thunder illuminated the entire sky above the Hades palace. A bearded man in golden armor stepped on the thunder and descended into the void. Resuscitation etiquette? It's interesting. Yusuking was anxious on the side. This level of battle was not something she could participate in a heavenly fairyland. "Brother, please help him." Yanmo looked at her with a strange face. "What did you just call me?" "Brother." "Understood. If you have something, call brother." "It's okay, strangers." Yusuking stomped his foot in a hurry. "Can you help him?" "Don't help." "Well, then you will lose your sister forever." After speaking, Yusuking flew directly into the air battlefield. Grass, a plant. Yanmo quickly used a spell to pull her back. At the same time, he shouted to the 10 temples Yan King behind him, "Quickly summon the Dharma body of the Jizo King." "King Yanluo, the Dharma body of the Jizo King is our secret weapon of the burning heavenly yin division. I'll let you go." "You'll go." Yanmo stared at the Sumeru ancient array condensed by the 10 powerhouses of the Yuan family in the air, kneeling in the center, holding Yuanjie, who was painfully holding his head without snorting. "Damn it, it's really a big girl." Genmei imprisoned Izanami in place, and she rushed towards the gods of Duet's underworld, outnumbering the crowd. Her attack is simple, fists. However, because her ghost exterminator pupil's attack power on the spirit body has increased 100-fold, even if she is only 10 times in the Emperor Venerable realm, she can still kill in seconds. Bang! After Yuanmei punched a ghost with a jackal's head into smoke, a woman with red flames flew in front of him. She looked up and down for a while, and she couldn't imagine that this woman, when she looked at it just now, was ordinary. But she could burst out with such terrifying strength. Ninth sister, the big one, Yupik, Li Tiansha's shallow and bright red hair was windless, and when he spoke, he killed a large number of ghosts with an understatement. Yuanmei's eyelids jumped. Is it so strong? No wonder the eldest brother values that Yuanjie so much, and the women around him are not idle people. She looked at the other side of the battlefield. A fluffy white cat was bouncing and stepping on the ghosts of Duet's underworld. This is the legend, the same name as Yinglong. She turned out to be Yuanjie's wife. One lady is Yanmo's sister Yanmei incarnate, the other is the 5 divine beasts Misty, and the other is the crimson goddess of war who doesn't know where it came from. Yuanmei suddenly didn't know what to say. Chapter 396. The originally grey territory of the Hades Palace suddenly appeared a dazzling golden Buddha light. A tiger head, a unicorn, a dog ear, a dragon body, a lion's tail, and a unicorn-footed beast stepped into the air, and on his body stood a man in a robe. Amitabha, everyone, stop! The golden Buddha light purified the ghosts of Duet's underworld, and their expressions suddenly froze. What? It turned out to be the Bodhisattva King of Jizo? I can't imagine that the Burning Sky Yin Division still has this kind of hole card. No wonder he can become the palace master of Hades Palace. Hades was extremely glad that he didn't stupidly rush to die like Anubis. Anubis is now entangled in the Golden Order God chain, unable to move, and can only roar incompetently on the side. In the void, the bearded man in golden armor said in a deep voice, "King Jizo, didn't you pass away tens of thousands of years ago? Although the body dies, the body of law does not die. Don't you? Don't you? HMPH, Zeus sneered. What a noble monk who is not empty in hell and vows not to become a Buddha, is not now out of the mountains again for the sake of the mortal world. Benefactor, although this place is hell, but all beings are suffering, where in the world is not hell, I advise you not to be nosy." King Jizo, a speck of sunlight that was more dazzling than the light of the Buddha appeared in this small world. The one who came was the sun god, Ra, one of the 9 pillar gods of the Western Old God sect. Western Olympus also has 3 major forces. The first is the mountain of the gods headed by Zeus, the second is the pharaoh god religion headed by Ra, and the third is Asgard headed by Odin. Yuanjie had a cold face, and he couldn't imagine that a small recovery ceremony had attracted 2 major Western forces. Moreover, Odin does not know where to hide. Izanami, who is imprisoned on the side, laughed wildly. "Ha ha ha, Yuanjie, I see you today. Who'll save you?" Bang! One punch, knock Izanami flying. She looked at the black and purple eyes in front of her in horror. Didn't you go to deal with that face lion body?" Yuanjie gently twisted his neck and smiled. It's over, it's vulnerable. Yuanjie's punch just now almost made Izanami's soul dissipate. It hurt, it was too painful, and it was worthy of being the ultimate nemesis of all spiritual things. Now that the Bodhisattva King of Jizo has solved the ghosts of Duet's underworld, Li Tiansha and Yu Menghan, who has transformed into a human body, returned to the 9 ancestors Yuanjie. Their gazes all turned to Yuanjie in the center of the Meru ancient array, and they couldn't help but feel distressed when they saw his appearance of crying and covering his head. However, they could not help anything, so they could only silently pray on the sidelines. Yuanjie's eyes were undergoing drastic changes. His left eye was shining with emerald green, and his right eye was an abyss. Izanami was stunned. This is not his original pupil technique, evolved. She knew extremely well that Yuanjie's original pupil technique was to control all things, and it could not be that these two eyes now had different abilities. The left eye represents the hope of life, and the right eye symbolizes the despair of death. The 3 ancestors really broke the delusional pupils, and at a glance, they could clearly see the pupil technique of Yuanjie's eyes. In fact, the fact that Izanami was hiding in Yuanjie's body was also what he told his eldest brother Genshin. Big brother, his pupil technique is similar to that of the 4th brother. It won't be Yudo Shenpu, right? Yuanjie said softly. The 4th brother, Yuanqi, is the pain of the Yuan family, and fell into Western forces in the early years. Yuanjie shook his head. It shouldn't be. The divine pupil can only decide a person's death, but it can't decide a person's life. Yuanjie slowly opened his eyes, and his left eye, which emitted green light, shrouded everyone in the Yuan family, and the injuries on their bodies were intact in a moment. Another black eye looked at the ghosts of Duet's underworld on the ground. A gust of wind drifted by, and the ghosts were like a wisp of blue smoke being blown away, and they ceased to exist in heaven and earth. King Jizo just restricted their movements and did not kill them. He saw that Yuanjie had killed tens of billions of ghosts at a glance, clasped his hands together, and whispered, Amitabha Buddha, good and good. Zeus and Ra looked at each other, and they could see that this man's pupil skills were not ordinary. If it weren't for his current low strength, he might really be able to determine their life and death at a glance in the future. For all the geniuses who can threaten them, the best solution is to kill them before he grows up. So, they did not hesitate to do it. In the sky, there is a sudden sound of thunder and the glow of the scorching sun. The supreme heaven's blow will kill, and it is not something that Yuanjie, who is currently only the 20 heavy person of the Emperor Venerable Realm, can block. Just as the thunder and brilliance fell, a Taiji god map covered the sky above everyone in the Yuan family. The divine energy was resisted from the Taiji god diagram and gradually dissipated, as if it had never appeared. Zeus gritted his teeth and stared dead at the void. Fuxi, a brocade-robed man with a fairy cloud appeared in the sky above the Hades palace laughing, and behind him, the shadow of tens of billions of heavenly soldiers and heavenly generals faintly appeared. Heavenly Emperor Taiheo, thank you for your help. Genshin did not humble or arrogant. Heavenly Emperor Taiheo's expression was very unnatural. Even if I don't make a move, your Yuan family can handle it, right, indeed. But you made a move before I did. The sun god Lan narrowed his eyes and said coldly, Fuxi, this is a dispute between our West and the Yuan family. What are you doing in the Eastern Divine Court? The Yuan family is also the son and daughter of Huaxu. Don't you know the reason why they didn't join the Eastern Divine Court? Zeus and Ra's eyes were solemn, and the reason why the Yuan family chose to stay out of the matter was naturally clear to them. I am afraid that one day, the Yuan family will not pretend and choose to return to the organization. Then at that time, how should the West stop the strong East? Heavenly Emperor Taiheo stretched out a finger, and the Taiji divine diagram behind him rotated slowly, and his eyes slowly spoke. I warn you again, the snake-tailed Nuwa Niang and the Eastern Emperor Taihei don't know when they stand on both sides of the Heavenly Emperor Taiheo. Those who violate Huaxu, people and gods will be destroyed. It doesn't matter if you are a god 9 days away, or a demon who has fallen into the mortal world, eh? The gods and immortals of the Eastern Divine Court, break it with joint force. The heavenly soldiers and heavenly generals behind Heavenly Emperor Taiheo let out a deafening roar. Strengthen my Shensha Wanli frontier, protect me Huaxuanji Axiang. Yuanjie couldn't help but be moved, no matter where he went, no matter what world he was in, only Dongfang Huaxu would always be unified. Although there are some disputes within the Eastern Divine Court, externally, they will always be the same enemy. Zeus blushed and looked at the heavenly soldier, heavenly general on the opposite side. He felt that he had lost face, and said with a strange yin and yang, "You Orientals are many powerful, aren't you?" Dong Hoang sneered, "I'm sorry, we just bully you with more people." "What's wrong?" the sun god sharply accused. "Your Eastern divine court, are you trying to provoke the third god catastrophe?" The graceful and luxurious Yuanjie replied to him expressionlessly. "Our Eastern divine court does not cause trouble, nor is we afraid of it. If you offend, you will be condemned from afar, even if it is the supreme heaven. This seat will kill you." Boom! Yuanjie's body erupted with a suffocating momentum, and Zeus and Ra's eyes froze. Unexpectedly, she actually reached this realm. Chapter 397. The two main gods of Zeus and sun god La did not expect that Nuwa had reached that realm, and in the battle of the gods 3 million years ago, didn't she just show the strength of the Emperor Venerable Realm 180 times? How did it take so much time to catch up, and even faintly surpass himself? The Emperor Venerable Realm is more than 100 weights, and every step is a chasm, and many gods have exhausted endless years before they have cultivated several times. Inside the Eastern Divine Court, there is a high probability that there are unknown secret techniques, or even secret realms. The two glanced at each other vaguely, and they both saw the little Jiujiu in each other's hearts. It's just that at the moment, there are many people on the other side, and the West should not be brainless and rigid. The characteristics of the West are that new gods emerge one after another. There are many gods, and there are all kinds of useful and useless gods, thanks to the fact that the private life of the main god of the West is relatively chaotic, and the gods of all parties often explore the origin of life together. As a result, the number of god seats in the West is far ahead of the relatively conservative East. But the East is different. Most of the gods in the East are clean, and the 6 pure Fang become immortals. In the Eastern Divine Court, many immortals were selected from the people and flew up, so everyone was like a dragon. The West is a lot of strong people, but there are more weak people. Resources are so little, it must be prioritized for those with tougher relations. You are not the blood of the Lord God to roll aside. The strength of the Eastern gods is relatively even, and they advocate that there is no class in teaching, and that class struggle is not engaged, so the strong are very strong, and the weak are not weak. The two forces really want to fight. Who wins and who loses is really not good. The previous 2 battles of the gods, the catastrophe of the gods, both sides have their own victories and losses. Of course, all this is under the premise that the Yuan family did not join the war. If the Yuan family participates in the war and stands on the opposite side of the West, then the West will have no chance of victory. The sun god La felt that it was an extremely stupid act to try to eliminate the Yuan family kid who had just awakened the pupil technique. It's okay if you kill it, but now that people are jumping alive, aren't you stealing chickens and forcing the Yuan family to stand on the opposite side of the West? The sun god secretly cursed a fool, but he completely forgot that he had just made a move. "I'm sorry, Lord God, I'm late." At this time, the 39 Emperor Venerable Realms of the 12 Guardian God families descended and protected in front of the 10 ancestors of the Yuan family, while the Emperor Venerable Realm of the Yuan family was hiding in the void and waiting for the opportunity. Yuanjie smiled contemptuously, his heavy pupils flickered with small blue pupils. 9 days away, thousands of Golden Order God chains instantly pierced the bound Anubis with incredible speed. The Emperor Venerable Realm is 200 heavy, and killing a small god who is only 90 in the Emperor Venerable Realm in seconds is as effortless as killing chickens and slaughtering dogs. The jackals had wailed and let out a dog bark, and then the breath dissipated and hung down weakly. Who said death doesn't die? The sun god was so angry that his eyes widened. Unexpectedly, this kid of the Yuan family actually dared to kill Anubis, the god of death of the Pharaoh god sect, in front of him. However, he was very jealous of the strength of the other party, and even more afraid of the gods of the Eastern Divine Court beside him. This time they didn't come out of the nest. The 9 pillars god only came to him. The sun god pulled back the urge to step forward desperately. He knew that it was not rational to have a conflict at the moment. It should be said that it is very irrational to have a conflict with a Yuan family. Over the years, they have been forbearing. Even if the Yuan family slaughtered their gods, they didn't see it, because they didn't want to see the Yuan family cooperate with the Eastern Divine Court. Once cooperated, the ancient god realm would have no place for Western powers. But they forgot that in the early years, the hatred of the god of war Ares, who used trickery to trap and kill the 4 ancestors and 5 ancestors of the Yuan family, had already been forged. Therefore, The Yuan family has been using the death-free gold medal that the West does not dare to calculate with them over the years, and conspired with the Eastern Divine Court to eliminate the minions of Western forces. If I don't have a face-to-face conflict with your Western forces, I will find a reason to destroy your little brother. One of the most glorious feats was the destruction of the gods of the Western Olympus, the lackeys of the Hyamagahara. On the surface, I am not familiar with you, but in fact, behind it are good buddies. What the Eastern Divine Court did not dare to do, the Yuan family did it. The Oriental Divine Court is not good to do that dirty work, the Yuan family to do. The Yuan family is like a knife hidden in the light of the Eastern Divine Court, stabbing into the lifeblood of Western forces. Zeus and the sun god Ra led the gods away from the palace of Hades with a grim expression, and they suffered a loss, but did not say anything cruel. They are all gods who have been famous for a long time. How can they make such a childish move? Cruel words are never to threaten others, but to save some face for yourself. Genshin turned his head, he looked at Izanami who was dying not far away, and then spoke. Heavenly Emperor, please borrow your Haoshin pagoda to use it. Heavenly Emperor Taihao did not say much, and directly sacrificed a colorful tower, and between heaven and earth, there were rui beasts roaring in unison, and wisps of breath surrounded the tower. Yuanjie looked at the Haoshin pagoda in the air, which was higher than the sky, and there was a rui beast flying around the tower, and he couldn't help but be stunned. It is worthy of being the supreme magic weapon of the Heavenly Emperor, and with this mighty righteousness alone, it can destroy the Emperor Venerable Realm. When the weak Izanami saw this, she restlessly tried to break free from the immortal rope. Hoops! Your annihilation disc. She knew what this thing was, and she also understood that once suppressed by this tower, she would permanently lose her free consciousness and become a false god without self-awareness, at the mercy of others. Genshin drank loudly, and the huge Haoshin pagoda transformed into a small tower 1 person tall, pressing Izanami under the tower. An endless stream of screams resounded throughout the heavens and earth. And Yuanjie did not have a trace of pity in his heart, only sighs. If a good god does not do it, he has to be a lackey of the West? Just now, Genshin told him about the past 3 million years ago, when the Second War of the Gods coincided, and Western Olympus fought with the Eastern Divine Court. Then, Goshin'in, who had always submitted to the Eastern Divine Court, suddenly rebelled with the assistance of Western forces, broke into the East to kill, burned and looted. The hot-blooded man in the East threw his head and spilled blood, shouting Huasukayankyu, and raised his knife to the jackal. You know, even in the ancient god realm, there are gods with low cultivation, and they simply cannot resist the invasion of many emperors in the high heavenly plane. The front line of the Eastern Divine Court is urgent, and there is no extra heavenly soldier heavenly general to return to guard Hushin. And at this time, the Yuan family made a move. The Yuan family led the 12 guardian god families, and it only took an hour to leave the invaders in the East forever. In the end, the army pressed the realm, counterattacked Goshin'in in 1 day, and annihilated the gods. Spirits are gone. Western forces originally thought that the cooperation with Goshin'in's inside and outside could seriously damage the East, but they did not expect to kill a Yuan family halfway. The reason given by the Yuan family at that time was that Goshin'in slaughtered my Yuan family and split up, and he was forced to fight back, right? Discerning people know what is going on. The reason why the Eastern Divine Court dares to go out to the border to kill the enemy is because there is no worries, and the Yuan family is Iwaku's last line of defense. But the Yuan family did not expect that Goshin'in actually had a backhand, and used the great god power to condense the will of fire and resurrect the spirit body of Izanami. A 100-footed worm, dead but not stiff. Without a god discovery, Izanami quietly left the ancient god realm and went to the nether stars to find a carrier of revenge. She planted seeds in various planets such as Earth and Langsing, and finally she was shocked to find that there was actually a seed awakened from the immortal body in the nether. Moreover, it seems that it is still the descendant of the Yuan family of the feud of the extinction of the family. That suddenly became interesting. Izanami scanned all of Yuanjie's memories, and she was shocked to find out again that Yuanjie still retained the memories of his previous life. Although he didn't understand why, he left that much to his own devices, so he disguised himself as a system he knew. This is the real reason why the system appeared after Yuanjie successfully awakened the SSS-level physique. You don't have talent, Izanami will look up to you. As for the other seeds on other planets, because they were too wasteful, they had been ruthlessly killed by her, and became nourishment for the souls of the gods and spirits of the high heaven plane. Period. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 399. Xia Omai, Analyze My Life and Death Demon Pupil Ability. Originally, Yuanjie wanted to call her Azanami her full name, but the 4 words were too troublesome to pronounce. Call it Xiao Yi, and collide with Yi Suking again. Xiao Evil? Little that? Forget it, let's call it Xia Omai. Some people say, why not call it Nami? That beauty? Where is the beauty? Yuanjie admitted that as a creator god, Azanami was indeed beautiful in every part of his body, and he couldn't fault anything. However, when you learn about her history, you will probably only feel disgusted, right? Azanami replied without hurry, Lord God, your left eye has the ability to control the power of life, which can not only allow people to quickly recover from injuries, but even directly revive without damage. Wait a minute, what did you say? What does lossless resurrection mean? Yuanjie's breathing became rapid. People have 3 souls and 6 spirits, and the art of reincarnation requires gathering the other party's 3 souls and 6 spirits to be resurrected, and the Lord God, your revival divine power, even if the other party only has 1 soul or 1 soul left, you can restore it and resurrect it completely. Oh, my God. This ability? Isn't it what Yuanjie dreamed of? He still doesn't know what Wang Qing and Liv are doing now, only that they should still be in the Hades Palace and cannot be reborn. He was also worried before, what if their souls were incomplete and the reincarnation innate art could not be resurrected? Well, there is no worries at all. It seems that it is necessary to find their souls as soon as possible. At this time, Xia Omai suddenly poured cold water. Lord God, you need to cultivate to reach the highest heaven or above in order to be resurrected without damage. Supreme heaven, Yuanjie done felt big, that was the supreme heaven. Every cultivation in the Emperor Venerable Realm was difficult, and it would take thousands or even tens of thousands of years to cross. Now, his plugin is gone, and the so-called cultivation experience potion is gone. In the following days, he needs to be like others, relying on his own hard work to improve his realm. Yes, isn't the Western Valhalla still retaining some of the divine power of the high heavenly plane? When the time comes, they will redeem themselves and subdue them, absorb their divine power. Won't they easily upgrade? Xia Omai poured cold water again. Lord God, to redeem a Lord God in Gao Shin'en, you need at least 10,000 extremely high-grade immortal stones. In the ancient god realm, the golden spirit coin, as the circulating currency of the nether, has depreciated very much. About 100 million gold spirit coins, it can be exchanged for 100 pinks stones. The fairy stone is divided into 4 grades, lower grade, middle grade, upper grade, and extreme grade. In other words, even if he packaged and sold Lanzing's Sharingan dynasty, he would not be able to exchange it for a superb immortal stone. And as the elder patriarch, every month offering, only 10 top-grade fairy stones, 100 upper-grade fairy stones can be exchanged for 1 top-grade fairy stone. It can only be said that if you rely on salary alone, there is no future. Or not? Looking for Genshin on credit? As soon as this thought came out, Yuanjie quickly shook his head and denied it. The Yuan family helped him so much this time, not only clearing the hidden danger of Izanami, but even helping him awaken the original pupil technique, which greatly enhanced his strength. If your own requirements are so excessive, you will be a little ignorant. Yi Suking rushed over and hugged him, leaving Yanmo behind to grieve. Xiaoji, it's great, it's good if you're okay. Her eyelashes were covered with dewdrops, as if she would fall off if she moved. Yuanjie hugged her into his arms and carefully wiped her down. Seeing that his strength had grown by leaps and bounds, Yi Suking strengthened her determination to fuse the main body. You're running so fast, I can't catch up with you. It has only been a few days since he ascended to the ancient god realm, and he has crossed from the flying immortal realm to the Emperor Venerable realm 80 times. Not to mention Yi Suking, other people's hearts were also uneasy, and they didn't know what to say. Yu Mangan looked at the two with a smile on her face. She was proud of him. This was the man she fancied. He proved to the gods with his actions that he was worthy of her trust. Li Tiansha is clenching his powder fist and has high fighting spirit. You must not be too far behind Brother G. I want to fight. I need to keep fighting to get stronger. The physique of a Super Saiyan is definitely not something that can be developed by hiding in a safe zone. She needs to fight constantly just to become stronger. Yuanjie and Yi Suking hugged each other for a while, until Yanmo finally couldn't stand it, and he coughed twice to remind you that it was really enough. Yi Suking reluctantly left his warm and secure embrace, and spat out her little fragrant tongue. Xiaoji, I'll go with you, okay, let's do it together. Then the two held hands again and frantically showed affection in front of Yanmo. Damn it, Yanmo gritted his teeth. No one knew how much pain his heart was. It is the kind of cabbage that has been raised for most of his life, and suddenly a pig broke in from the outside and arched the beloved cabbage. The point is that the cabbage also willingly gave him an arch. Even enjoy the look when arching. Yanmo angrily threw his hand to the front, and he led everyone to the Meru realm, which contained vigorous vitality. Yuanjie could even see a trace of life force flowing in the air through his left eye. The moment Yi Suking came in, the blood veins in her body burned, and at this moment, she was extremely sure that the woman under the Bodhi tree must have a certain relationship with her. I'm you and you're me. No, I'm not you, we're different. What's the difference? I have a warm home, with him, with an inseparable bond, and with our children. The voice seemed to choke, and it did not make a sound for a long time. Yuanjie looked at the woman sitting quietly under the Bodhi tree, and her appearance was very different from Yi Suking. She has a tall hooked nose, large eyes, as if she can speak, and delicate red lips gently pursed, evoking an intriguing arc. Her appearance is very exotic, with a combination of Chinese and Western beauty. The most difficult thing to look away from is her perfect curves, like a small sapling with two large watermelons hanging from it. Yuanjie's right eye suddenly noticed that there was a black key hidden in the woman's body. He angrily opened Susanoo and squeezed Yanmo with one hand. What curse did you put on her? Yanmo was frightened. He couldn't understand how a supreme heaven with 120 weights of the Emperor Venerable Realm, was caught like a chicken boy by Yuanjie, who only had the 80 heavy Emperor Venerable Realm. He wanted to resist. Naturally it was easy, but seeing the Yuan family powerhouse behind him, he gave up resistance. The Yuan family is in the ancient god world, but it is a well-known protective caste. Didn't you see that Gao Xianyun just accidentally injured a clan member of the Yuan family, and then was exterminated by the Manchus? In order to burn the heavenly yin division, I endure. I don't call this instigation. I'm doing this from the heart. Chapter 400. Yanmo knew that in front of Yuanyu, who possessed the true pupil of his heart, all the lies would be exposed. So he had to honestly explain, I'm sorry, it was me who injected the spirit talisman into my sister on impulse. Spirit talisman? This is not a good thing. Are you trying to kill her? She, referring to Yi Suking, could not be Yanmi. As we all know, Yanmo is a superb sister control, and he will never kill his sister. Sorry, I was wrong. Yanmo looked at the Golden Order God chain that was only 0.01 millimeters away from him and was frightened. Although he is the palace master of the Hades Palace, his cultivation is really average, far less than other forces. The Hades Palace is recognized as the most popular force in the ancient god world, and I really am not joking with you. The supreme heavens possessed by the three major forces of the Hades Palace combined were only a few. Otherwise, why would Mangpo be so eager to bring Yi Suking back to inherit the family business? It is really unbearable. The pressure from Western Olympus is too great. Moreover, only the Mountain of Gods, one of the three major Western forces, attacked, and the other two forces were not mixed. In fact, the strength of the Hades Palace was really not weak a long time ago, and it even faintly suppressed the Western forces. The fundamental reason is that the first battle of the gods between the East and the West 5 million years ago, and the second god catastrophe 3 million years ago, the fight between the gods was too fierce, and the most outrageous thing was that it affected the balance of the laws of the nether heavenly Dao. Many planes heavenly Dao laws have entered a dormant period. What will happen to them? The first troublesome thing, the underworld messenger of the Hades Palace. It is difficult to capture souls in the lower realm, because the laws of heaven have blocked the way to go in order to protect themselves. How do you go down? The second troublesome thing, occasionally a soul chooses reincarnation by itself and floats into the Hades Palace. However, due to the damage to the laws of the heavenly Dao, their cultivation ceiling was very low, and the power of rebirth that could be transformed was minimal. Therefore, the gods of the Hades Palace, who rely on reincarnation cultivation, have lived a hard life of eating the last meal but not the next meal during these years, and the next meal is still nibbling on steamed buns. The original leader of the burning heavenly yin division, the Bodhisattva of Jizo, was compassionate, and he resolutely chose to self-destruct the golden body of the Buddha Dao, turning it into a Bodhi tree, as a trunk, as a branch and leaf, and continuously converting the yin ki into the power of rebirth. P.S. The Bodhi tree was definitely not made by Jizo, I made it up. Therefore, the overall strength of the burning sky yin division will slightly overwhelm the Titan underworld and dual underworld next door. However, compared with the combat power of the Yuan family, the combat power of the burning heavenly yin division is really not enough to see. Yanmo saw that Aunt Yuanmei, twisting her neck and coming up with interest. He was even more afraid. Yuanjie said in a deep voice, "Why are you doing this?" Yanmo shouted unconvinced, "Why? I just want my sister to stay with me, am I wrong?" Yuanjing, the second ancestor of the Yuan family, opened his mouth to refute him. "Your sister is not your private property. She is a complete person, she should have the right to choose freely. You know that your sister's avatar's married, why do you do this?" Yanmo pouted, "Do everything, don't ask why." Yuanjie looked at everyone in the Yuan family and asked, "Ancestors, is there a way to remove the spirit talisman?" Yuanshan shook his head and said, "This is the secret method of the underworld, we can't solve it perfectly, or we can take it out by brute force, but if you do this, there is a high probability that the body will be damaged. Do it if it's damaged. I definitely can't watch Yasuking die in front of me." Hearing Yuanji's collapse roar, Yanmo's expression froze at once. He suddenly felt that the man seemed to love his sister more than he did, and the guilt in his heart deepened again. Yasuking flew to Susanoo's head and hugged Yuanjie tightly. "Zyuoji, don't worry, I'll be fine. The spirit rune, not necessarily my soul, nope. I have already seen you die in front of me once, and I cannot accept to experience such grief again." Yasuking smiled, "Actually, you have experienced it 99 times. Her plain hand gently placed in his temple, and strange and familiar memories suddenly surged up. Yuanjie was stunned. Is this the pain she has experienced in the 99th life? The scene was like a movie playback, making Yuanjie unconsciously burst into tears. It turned out that these were everything he and she had experienced. When I approached her, I remembered all the memories of the other 99 incarnations. Fortunately, every time you passed, I was involved. Unfortunately, in the first life, I accidentally fell into the water and was rescued by you, but you were swept away by the flood. I searched for a long time, but I didn't find you again. I think you probably left, right? At that time, I noticed for the first time that there was a boy named Yuanjie. In the second life, I finally found you in the vast sea of people. We attracted each other, and soon became intimate, just when I thought I would live my life happily, but I didn't expect God to arrange the war. You were captured and sent to the front line when you were young and strong. I waited for you to reach the Whitehead, but I never saw your return at the entrance of the village. 8th, I'm bouncing around the streets and having fun, and you're following. Suddenly a carriage sped by, and you took me into your arms, leaving the danger behind you, and you smiled and told me that you would pay attention to walking alone in the future, and then your body fell limply. I knew you should be the man I was looking for in the red dust. In the 13th life, I became a blind man, and you took a fancy to me at first sight in the vast sea of people, and later, you became my eyes and took me to this beautiful world. Suddenly one day you disappeared, and later I learned that you were also blind, and unfortunately died under the car in order to help me buy my favorite buns. In the 19th life, we met at the end of the world. We stayed with us for many years, and we had our children, but one day, the end of the natural disaster, the earth dragon turned over. You protected me in Zyabeo in your arms, and let the rock fall, but you never said a word. Only later did I learn that you had long been out of breath, but I clearly felt that you hugged me so hard, for fear that I would be hurt a little. 28th, I have searched for you for many years, but I have never found you. One day, I accidentally slipped off a cliff, and suddenly a strong hand grabbed me. It was you. Fate finally met you and me, but at the last moment, you pulled me up, but I fell powerlessly into the abyss. Before I could tell you I loved you, you waved goodbye to me. 35th, you and my childhood sweetheart, you pinched a city with mud, and said that you would marry me in the future. But the turbulent years forced us apart, and I thought you forgot your promise. 5 years later, two people outside the door, claiming to be your comrades, held an urn in their arms, saying it was you. When they sorted through the relics, they found a marriage letter written by us when we were young. Yusuking leaned into his arms and told the story of each life. The beginning of the story was very similar. There was a girl, looking for a boy in the crowd. The ending of the story is also very similar. Basically, two people will always have an accident first, and it will end without a problem. After hearing it, almost everyone was moved by their ups and downs of love stories. Have you experienced the parting of life and death in the 99 life, just for the sake of the appearance of this life and this life? Yanmo actually cried the saddest. A handful of snot and tears, and I don't know who is saddening. I finally know why I still retain the memories of the previous life. It turns out that I am not Yusuking, I am the incarnation of Yanmi, and every time I am reincarnated, I will inherit the memories of the previous life. I am still used to calling Yusuking. Yusuking's face nestled in Yuanjie's chest. We have already experienced the parting of life and death in the 99th life. When I grew up in this life, I found out that you were my younger brother. I was still depressed at that time. Is there a lover in the world who finally becomes a brother and sister? One day, I found out that we were half-siblings, but I didn't dare to recognize you again, and I thought that if we weren't together, maybe you would have lived this life in peace, because I'm really afraid to experience such a sad parting of life and death again. Either you die or I die. Later, by chance, I learned that you still retain the memories of your past life, something that has never happened before, and I was thinking, if something has changed, why don't you try hard? Maybe the fate of both of us has changed? I can allow you to have other women in your heart in order to stay by your side, and this is my compromise with you. Yusuking suddenly raised her head and looked at him stunnedly, and said softly, then this time, can you compromise for me? Just let me fuse the Lord, trust me. I won't fail. End of this chapter. Thank you so much for reading until the end. Don't forget to give it a like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription or donation encourages us to continue. Thank you all. See you in the next video.